Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Unscheduled live stream from your host, Sergeant Friday. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. What up, everybody? I do want to give an early shout out to Miss Potts, the Indie Zone, um, because Miss Potts confirmed my educated assumption last night that the subpoenas for Pennsylvania are being done by the defense. So I just wanted to come out here, and I had to end the stream because I was required to be up early to manage my empire. And unfortunately, the weather turned, and yep, I should be in the boat building business with all the rain we've gotten in my area. It just rains like crazy. It's insane. But welcome to all of those that have joined. I think there's 80 of there on Twit. And yeah, we got one of them over there on what do you call it there? But yeah, a shout out to Miss Potts. I got to find her stream. Unfortunately, I closed Windows and oh yeah. Let's see if it comes up. I'll try to just the Indie Zone. Where is she? Uh, Kathy's Indie Zone. That's it, right? Isn't that it, Miss Potts? I think I'm subscribed. And she's got a 5-minute video. I'm going to allow the video to roll. I got the volume down, but I'll present that. I refer to her as the AI because she is so like monotone. She is so, and she reads these documents. There's no words are ever confused. It's just amazing how well she reads through these documents. I do need to put her link out here so that I don't get a strike. Not that I think she would give me a strike, in all fairness, but it's only customary to provide a link to the person that you're going to hijack their material. But she's only got 27 views on it, and she is extremely informative in the document, the depiction of the documents, how she lays them out. Very, very oftentimes, or not so often, she'll enter her opinion, but for the most part, the documents do speak for themselves, and that's important that somebody's able to do what she does. She does provide an awesome service, and in today's world, factual information, just the facts, only the facts are what matters. Thursday, Friday is my favorite day. Always happy for this weekend. Every day to me is my favorite day. I live a very charmed life, and so every day is Friday to me. And Sergeant Friday fits the view of the world as being Friday every day, and also that gentleman from Dragnet. Just the facts, man. Just the facts. So let us see here if I can present. Share screen. Share screen. I think this is it, right? Yeah. So I'll let a few people get in here. And I honestly, I think that if she's only got 1.9 subscribers and she doesn't have a lot of views on this particular video. And I know it may seem, it isn't filled with crackhead ideas like Daniel that offers people constantly. The guy that bent over to kiss the ass of the mainstream media, and all that matters to him is a revenue stream and truth. Whether Brian is murdered or if Brian is shot dead and Brian was innocent, the drunk turkey wouldn't care at all. If that's not what he's here for. He's here to get your clicks. He's here to get the viewership, and he's here to kiss the ass of Paramount or anyone else that'll give him any attention. Even that he would throw away his longtime friend, Big Blue. Big Blue should come onto my screen. He's welcome here. Whether he agrees or disagrees with me or not, he's welcome here only because Daniel shit on him. Because Daniel literally is the epitome of what so many people in this country have become, which are money grubbing fucking grifters that care nothing about anything except themselves and what their bottom fucking dollar is, Yeah. He got rid of him. I don't know. He got rid of fucking Big Blue. But so let's move forward with the Indie Zone. Let me put some volume. And let's again, Kathy's Indie Zone. The link is in the chat room. She streamed this 25 minutes ago, but prior, let me qualify this. Last night in my stream, for those of you that weren't there, Dago came up. Kane, I forget his full name, so pardon me, came up. Twiz came up. Little Twiz came up. And of course, I was there. But during the, the stream, deep into the stream, it became known and brought forward in documentation that there were people in Pennsylvania being subpoenaed for the Idaho 4 case in Idaho. And upon initially hearing that, I concluded that those are going to be people that'll speak to the character, or they're going to be people that the defense wants for reasons that would be, I suspect, to speak to the character of Brian Kohberger. I don't know exactly, obviously, but that's my educated analysis. And my educated analysis last night was that these people were being subpoenaed not by the prosecution, but in fact by the defense. And it appears that that is accurate. So I'm out here patting myself on the back while I remind people that ignorant drunk bird is just a grifting loser, like anybody on CNN or anybody like Nancy Grace. He wants to be one of these people. And these people have no interest in the life and death of you or anybody that's accused of a crime. All they have an interest in is to generate the biggest audience possible, to return the most revenue as possible. And that's what it is. I think they're just a bunch of heartless, and I hate to, excuse me, ladies, but they're heartless cunts, these people. And there's so many of them that are in positions that they shouldn't have. It's people that you should not have those types of people rolling all over the place and getting in your face and posting all this fucking bullshit information. But we do. I mean, it's a reality. And so I think this is one of the things too that I've often said is that dishonest and scumbaggy people should be confronted, not ignored. And it's our fault for not confronting them. It's our fault for allowing them to interact amongst us. And it's our fault that they poison the minds of so many mindless fucking people. And you have to then try to live your life while dealing with people that their closest fucking companion to a thought is taking what drunk turkey or assholes like that say and turning it into a discussion as if they know something because they heard it from some scumbag, rather than actually reading the documents and trying to understand the information as presented. And we're surrounded by these people, folks. I mean, but it's up to us to confront them. And that's, a lot of people may not like when a stream like this confronts other streamers. But look, I think it's our duty, if we're looking for truth and justice, to sort through the chaff and let as many viewers as you can possibly let know to start thinking on their own. And scumbags like that should be ignored. So here we go with Kathy here. She's got an awesome little stream here, 5-minute long. And I'll skip ahead a little bit. And here we go.
So in Nevada, for one witness, the defense has done so for 5 witnesses in Pennsylvania. I've received a request to read one of the subpoenas out of Pennsylvania, the packets, to apprise of what is contained. There is one subpoena that I wanted to bring to your attention, is for a gentleman in Bartonsville, Pennsylvania. It appears to be at his place of business. It is a used auto sales type of organization, and just completely speculating here, this may be the organization where Mr. Kohberger arranged to purchase his 2015 Hyundai Elantra that the state of Idaho believes is suspect vehicle 1, which Mr. Kohberger vehemently denies. His packet is comprised of 14 pages. Page 1 is in the Court of Common Pleas of Monroe County, Pennsylvania. So this is a Pennsylvania court document. It is an order scheduling a hearing on the petition for summons for this witness, and he is to appear at the Monroe County Courthouse. Although this is blank, the witnesses were directed to appear on June 30th to give causes to why they should not be issued this domesticated subpoena to appear for trial in Boise, Idaho. Now, the next page is a continuation of the same. This is the order, blank order, assuming the court's going to fill this out, issuing the summons for this witness to testify in the out-of-state criminal case. Paragraph 1 and 2 explains that this witness is a material and necessary witness in a criminal proceeding pending before the district court in the 4th Judicial District in Idaho, and compelling the attendance of this witness and his testimony will not cause undue hardship to him. That is a matter that will be discussed at the hearing. Page 3 is actually page 2 of this Pennsylvania order, and it states that the trial begins August 11th and ends November 7th, with the specific dates to be communicated to this witness by the court as to when he is to specifically appear in Idaho. Now, page 4 is the petition for summons. This is also in the Court of Common Pleas in Monroe County, and it addresses the fact that per 42 PA, it's a statute 5963, the petitioner, who is the attorney working with the defense, has been retained to assist in Pennsylvania through the domestication process. And that is described in paragraph 1. It goes into the fact that the trial is scheduled to take place from August 11th until November 7th. And then it goes into the legal grounds to enable the Pennsylvania courts to give this relief that the defense is seeking. There's an Exhibit A that is appearing after page number 8. Page 9 is the expert sealed certificate of an Idaho district judge. And this is from the Idaho court. This is actually Judge Hippler has signed this. And he says that there is a proceeding in the district court in Ada County, and the defendant is charged with the 5 felonies that he is. Number 4 paragraph is stating that Judge Hippler is presiding over the trial. And then if you go on to page number 11, you'll see Judge Hippler's signature there. And then Exhibit B is the actual trial subpoena for this individual. And it says that you are commanded to appear in the district court of the 4th Judicial District in Idaho, and that you are further notified that if you fail to appear at the place and the time specified, that you may be held in contempt of court. This will now conclude this episode of the Indie Zone. Thanks for joining us today.
Building 4,000 affordable housing unit within 4 years. This is core of my agenda. There are 3,000
Oh, I apologize. I am muted. I'm talking to myself, but let me just reiterate what I said. T. Marie, I'll look to see if you're blocked. I did not personally block you. So I don't know how that happened or who did it, and I'll never know. I don't have the power of Judge Hippler. I cannot compel. And yeah, I'm going to have to go into my community page and find where people are blocked and look at that list and try to find your name. The sad part about that list is it's not alphabetical. It's it's just a list of fucking whoever's blocked. It's kind of crazy. But let's also look. give a shout out and go over and subscribe to the Indie Zone. Her name is Kathy. And she does all new documents she presents to the public this way. And it's quite a service that she does that. I mean, she definitely deserves a pat on the back for the time and effort that she puts in for each individually released document and or groups of documents. So some of her streams are going to be much longer than 5 minutes. But again, that's where the information about what's really going on comes from. And, even in the information released, if the state is lying and the lying is part of the release, there's nothing you could do about that until trial. So that's just the way that the cookie crumbles. And so back to the beginning, where I just want to remind people, there's so many people like the drunk turkey out there, or Daniel T, whatever it is, that are just poisoning the shit out of what's going on. Good morning, Elizabeth. And they don't know, and I don't know whether this gentleman is guilty or not. So, they're referred to as guilters. And I think the mass majority of these guilters are the Democrat voters. They're those kinds of people that will be told something and they'll spend no time to see if there's any truth to it. They're the ones that get turned on. You're separating families when you're deporting people. Well, maybe they shouldn't have fucking snuck into the country and broken our laws. Or doesn't that make sense that you break a law that there's a consequence? It doesn't. That doesn't matter to these people at all. Now they want to throw, but the children. Well, you've aborted 28 million babies. Literally, since Roe Wade, you aborted 28 million babies, and you're going to be the one talking to me about what's good for a child. You need to just shut the fuck up, okay, bro? Don't slaughter children in the womb and then come out here and tell me how to raise children or how to be concerned or what the man. I ain't talking to people like that. I don't want to hear that fucking shit. Don't you dare try to take the higher moral ground with me when it comes to fucking life. And don't you tell me how to think, Daniel, you fat fuck. There's nothing about you that gives you any brain capacity. You're a little fucking, you're one of those rats that were trapped on the ship. That's what you are. You represent the rats that came over here from England during the fucking 14 and 1500s. And to the current day, you're one of them fucking hanger-oners that just fucking runs around and sneaks and steals and gets the scraps. What a fucking loser, man. And there's so many people like that, especially when it comes to important issues of our day. Where's the fairness from these fucking people? What kind of a life have they lived where they don't understand that you need to at the very least, be fair with your fellow fucking human beings? Look, people that don't think, I have a big issue with, right? We all know that. And I'm not going to hold back when I come in contact with them or their name is mentioned in my stream or their information is actually posted in my stream. I ain't fucking having it, man. I don't want anything to do with it. That person shouldn't even have a stream, nor should Nancy Disgrace or all the other people, the people writing books. What kind of scumbag fucking losers are out there to profit off the death of 4 fucking teenagers? Really? I mean, I don't know. Look, and I'm not one that I'm all about making money. But let me make a point to you. Something I knew a long time ago that never or rarely, if ever, gets said. If it's ever been said publicly by anybody before. But we actually only earn incomes in the service of others. Every fucking job in this world is about helping someone else or providing a service or a good to another human being. There is no fucking employment. I don't give a fuck what it is. The worst job of cleaning fucking shit pipes under the fucking street. You're serving your fucking fellow man. Everything you do. And then you got people that fucking find ways to disserve. And they earn more money by providing disservice to their fellow man. And those kind of fucking people are scum. And they need to be pointed out to be called scum. And it's up to the viewers of these scumbags to withdraw their fucking viewership. I'm not telling you come here. I really don't give a fuck where you go. But people like Daniel and others, these Nancy Graces and these other people, the JLRs of the world, it's fucking sick, man. And the viewership people like that, just look at that. The truth gets the smallest viewership, where the bullshit, the horseshit, the lies, and the fucking conspiracy theories get the attention. That's indicative, and that's why my stream has often made the point that there's 6.3 billion fucking morons on social media, right? And don't tell me it's not Daniel's fault. No, I'm sorry. That's just so wrong. And this is why the country is so fucked up. It's not really Daniel's fault, Translucent. Are you kidding me? Really? The algorithm wants him? What is it? What's an algorithm got to do with doing that allows you, that promotes you to do what's wrong? Just think about what kind of an empty soul human being does what he's doing. What other kind of person with an empty soul like that Howard fucking Bloom and the other jerk off that's going to write a book? They have no fucking soul. They have no compassion for humanity. I mean, Daniel comes off as this steady Eddie versus me, who comes off as what most people interpret as anger, and it isn't. It's passion. Passion for what's doing what's right, passion for the truth, and a passion, okay, to fight back against the fucking jerk-offs of the world like that. That's what you're hearing coming from me. It's not anger. It's literally my passion. And these people never had a soul to sell. These people never had a soul to guide them anywhere ever. There is no compass for these people. Okay? And that's just the way it is. And there's tens of millions of these fucking people. They literally outnumber the people that are really trying to be fair and balanced and fair and honest. And people that are not only just trying to be fair and honest, but those very same people like myself that will exactly admit when they're wrong. And when the opportunity presents itself, make amends. You guys seen me tearing the Kim. And what have I said for the last month? What have I said since those text messages were released and the timestamps were provided? It appears that Kim was right. It appears Kim may know things that nobody else knows. However, I attacked her specifically because she wouldn't provide proof of her statements. And information that can't be shown proof, information that changes the narrative that you can't stand by with some kind of proof, is bullshit and shouldn't be distributed. In this situation, it looks like, okay, she called it. However, she still had the obligation that if she's going to present this kind of data to the public, she should have always presented fucking receipts. Always. And for that, I won't forgive her for not doing that. Don't speak up on something you may have the information on. You may be completely fucking correct. And then sell it online without verifying it. That's just another scumbag fucking move. However, as I just said, I was wrong. I was wrong in attacking her on the basis that what she had was a bunch of bullshit. It's apparently I'm wrong. And she's owed an apology for that. No doubt about it. But that's what separates us from the other groups of people that are out here that they call themselves the guilters. Right? It doesn't matter. See, this is what I'm saying, Translucent. I don't understand your moral compass. Where's the moral compass in living life? If what you're saying is true, and I completely disagree with its validity, but let's just say what you're saying is true. Who gives a fuck about the algorithm? I don't know, man. I love people more than I love pets. I don't put a dog above a human. I don't care how friendly the dog is or how well it makes you feel. Believe me, if the economy collapsed, your dog would become my dinner. You wouldn't, but your dog would. The deer would, the squirrel would, the cat would. Absolutely. Humans, we don't provide ourselves, we don't give each other enough value, enough respect. And that's why you have such a cadre of scumbags like Daniel. And all these other people that are going out and accusing these people at the grub truck, and they're accusing the kids in the band field, and they're accusing the frats, and they're showing photographs, and they're editing videos, and they're editing audio, and they're pixelating, and they're trying to sell you this happy horseshit of who did it. Those are another form of scumbag that's equal to the form of people like Daniel, people like Nancy Grace, and people that aren't trying to understand the factual data that's set in front of them, and then give it an honest appraisal, right? I'm just stunned at how fucking and look at I come. Maybe it's simply because I came from an abusive, horrific childhood to homelessness at 14. Maybe that's why I'm more sensitive. It probably is directly why I'm more sensitive to just how disrespectful we are to each other. And then how easy it is for me. I had to figure shit out. This is another thing. This is why I say I would never change my life from the worst moment to the best. I wouldn't change anything if I could do it over again. You know, that may in fact why I've always questioned things. That may in fact be how I've become who I am today. Right? I you know, translucent, I'm not trying to attack you personally, but I'm just trying to say there's just no basis for anybody that can see the difference, can be shown the difference, and understands the difference to completely ignore the difference and keep going with what they're doing, except for money. I don't cherish money more than I cherish people. There's no fucking way. And I have quite a bit of it. But I wouldn't choose that over the life of somebody else. I wouldn't, man. I'm in an industry, folks, where I could make 2 or 3 times what I earned by being dishonest. That's the worst thing about that's the sick thing about this dishonesty is for many of us, there is a significant monetary reward for this dishonesty. And they act like, well, it's work, it's not personal. No, motherfucker, I don't believe this is business, not personal. I think that's one of the filthiest comments I've ever heard in my life. Don't you dare look at me and tell me this is business, not personal. Right? That I don't accept that as a fucking statement to live life by. It's personal. People are entrusting you to do something on a personal fucking level, whether it's shovel their fucking driveway, right? Or repair their car. It's fucking personal, folks. And the idea that people like Daniel and others can live by that motto or actually exist, their whole life revolves around that motto, tells you what kind of a fucking slithering piece of shit the people really are. And there's too many of them because we don't call them out. We don't try to hold them to account. Listen, I'm an asshole, but you can rest assured that no matter what kind of an asshole you think I am, I'm always going to try to do the next best fucking thing. Period. End of story. And it doesn't matter if it affects me negatively or positively. The next right thing to do is the next right thing to do. That's all. And life is so much easier to live that way. I never lie to people for money. In an industry where I literally could triple or more my income by doing so, I never would do it. I won't let people work for me that I wouldn't let work for me personally. If I can't trust you as a human being and I can't really put my faith in the fact you're going to make the right choices, that I don't have to stand there all day, that you're not going to lie to me for $1. If you can't meet that, then you can't work for me. That's just the way it is with me. And I think more of us need, and more of us are like that. Let's be honest here. When you're looking for home renovations, which is the trade that I'm in, you're trying to find somebody you could trust. You're trying to pick of the estimates that you get. You're trying to pick and who you feel is going to be the most trustworthy to do the work that you're asking to get done. Period. End of story. It's personal. It's fucking personal, man. Right? There isn't this fucking confidence that regardless of who you call, they're going to do their best to give you the proper fucking work. That doesn't exist. That's why you get multiple quotes. And what are you really looking for? Some people think it's price. There's truth to that. A lot of people that look for the lowest price are very fucking cynical. Right? Because they themselves, like I had a friend that hired me to do a job and I didn't want to do it. And you know what? Here's why I didn't want to do it. This guy would buy a car with 150,000 miles on it back in the day and he'd roll the fucking mileage back to 50,000. This is before you could track all of this stuff. Okay? Everything he had to be like, there could be no dust on anything he owned. He was like, he came across as this guy that wanted everything right, everything perfect. But the truth of the matter was he was a lying piece of fucking shit. And I didn't want to do the job that he was hiring me for. It's because of this. Now, when he was in a club or when he was at the racetrack or when you associated with the guy, he was, okay. He was part of the group, and I accepted him as part of the group. Now, we take the job because, we're in a group of guys, and I've done the work for a whole bunch of these guys. So, okay, I do the work. But deep down inside, it didn't want the job. And what does this guy do? He follows my workers around to make sure every nail is placed and everything is done exactly this way or that way, because he's afraid we're going to screw him, because his entire life is built on him screwing unsuspecting people by lying about the shit he's selling to them. That's how he lives life. And that's how he treats people when it came to me. And I knew that was going to happen. I knew that right away, and I didn't want to work because of that. Do not suppose that I lie. Do not place at my feet the idea that I live life through the fucking lens that you live through. Right? I'm telling you, folks, look, you go ahead, you be you, but I'm not going to buy a car from you. I don't want to do any work for you. Okay? When you're like that, like someone like Daniel, I wouldn't want to do any service for a guy like that, because deep down inside, they know what they're doing is wrong. Deep down inside, they know it's scumbag bullshit what they're doing. And deep down inside, they know that they're doing it because it makes them good money. You see? And that's their motive. But listen, there's trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars for each and every one of us to go get a part of. And you could do that most effectively, most efficiently by telling the truth. How it is people don't learn, I don't know how fucking people don't know that. I just don't get it, man. I don't understand. Why is it okay? And then here's the thing. And this is what I say is, that's a criminal mindset what people like him are doing. Literally a criminal mindset, to where you guys are the stiffs, and he's going to provide a content that gets him the most stiffs. No different than when I was a pure straight up criminal and would rob you. You're looking for the stiff. And there's millions of us that are called stiffs, okay? There's nothing that places Brian near the house, and we know that. Officer Payne indicated without doubt that there's no identification of Brian or his car in any of their 8,000 fucking videos they collected. It's just the way it is, man. Where's Twizzlestick? It's got nothing to what he did now. He's an example of what a lot of people do constantly. Like I said last night, I could give a fuck if Brian Kohlberger's worldview is opposite of mine. See, this is what I mean. This is not about Brian Kohlberger. This is about the prosecution of the accused, who could be named Janet fucking Doppler for all I give a fuck. It's about the execution of the processes that an American citizen must face when accused of a crime. The people I'm concerned about are both the deceased getting justice, regardless of the accused, but more importantly, that justice is served properly and confidently that the person that we're going to execute committed the crime. Look at now, they want me in a UFC fight. I would just kick them in the balls with everything I got and walk away. I don't play that fight game anymore. I'm too old. Yeah, I mean, it does matter. See, translucent, this is what I mean. Somehow we've been trained to separate this. And you're a great example of it. And in all fairness, that's a very poor way to view the world, and that's a very, very poor way to earn an income. What you personally believe must drive your life. And to suggest that what he personally believes is any different than his behavior on the internet is wrong. You're absolutely wrong. That Howard Blum, scumbag. The guy that claimed he found the glove by the garbage can, scumbag. The other guy writing the book, scumbag. Nancy Grace, you could see it in her face. That woman's not happy with herself. Neither is Daniel, hiding behind them sunglasses. I wear sunglasses. You see it in my picture. But I'm not hiding from life. I'm an open book. And when wrong, I will accept being wrong as an opportunity to be educated. Not to feel ashamed or not to be And nothing Daniel is doing is because he's making a mistake. It's an intentional act. It's an intentional act. Him, whatever he makes a month, I don't care if it's 10 grand, 12 grand, 100 grand, million. But that's what he's chasing, and everything else be damned. And the idea that look at, I'm going to go back to what I said, whether you know it or not, everything you do in life is to the service of another human being. Everything. When you're sweeping the floor as a busboy, you're doing that to the benefit of a stranger. There's nothing on earth that you do that isn't for other. And how is it the concept of doing the best and being fair with others? How is that such a hard fucking thing to do? It isn't. It absolutely isn't. But it is literally, seems to be, people flee from it. It's 12. I mean, come on. I don't care. It's just insane, man. And the thing is these folks know what they're doing is wrong. They know that it's not even a moral issue. It's just, I have to go. I'll be back for the replay. Keep up the good work. There you go, T. Marie. I'll find your name. I'll go through the block list. I wrote it down for us there. To some extent, Laura, though, is trying to sort through what the information is and provide an understanding, and a fair understanding for the majority, if not a serious, vast percentage of what she's trying to do. And I don't begrudge anybody earning money. But when you're willing to just talk shit and tell and repeat and regurgitate unverifiable data to somebody that could be shot and killed, I'm sorry. I think Lana, like myself, and I think many other streamers like Dago, I think many of you in this room, okay, that come into my stream, you're looking for as accurate a pieces of information so that you could come to an understanding. And then we share back and forth our particular understanding of what we're seeing. Like my statement, the killings began at 4:17 a.m. I'm not telling you that that's the truth. That's perfectly true, that there's nobody should think about anything except that. I'm not telling you you have to accept that as your own personal way to think. But what I am telling you is that the killings began at 4:17 a.m. because a series of events took place at exactly that time that are all connected to the crime. These series of events cannot be separated from the crime. And because they all took place at 4:17 a.m., and nothing else has been given to us, nothing to indicate any disturbance within that home prior to 4:17 a.m., that I'm telling you that as a person that thinks a safe conclusion that the killings did begin at 4:17 a.m. is reasonable. I'm not telling you that it's the only way it could have happened. And I'm not telling you that I'm 100% right. But what I'm trying to show you is that when data points in a certain direction, you have to accept the direction it's pointing you in. Facts tell a story. They even expose lies, right? And so when you're thinking, that's the process under which we think. Yeah, I don't really have a problem with Lana. I don't have a problem with Dago. I don't have a problem with what's his name there, the convict guy. I don't have a problem with many of these people. I have the only time I go into a problem with people is when they're out here and they think they're trying to solve the crime. We're investigators, like that jerk off said in my stream the other day. You're not as good of an investigator as you think you are. Well, I'm not investigating anything, you dumb fucking twit. I'm reading documents, the evidence that they're giving us, and they're telling us, here's the proof. And I'm taking their proof, I'm putting it in a timeline, just like they gave it to me, and I'm making a conclusion on the timeline. No, I'm not going too far with it. Whether you defended Daniel or not, Translucent, your comments wouldn't have changed anything that I'm saying or any of the ideas that I'm sharing. It just wouldn't. You're taking it personal, not me. I just don't think Daniel deserves to be defended. If Daniel wants to defend himself, Daniel should come clean. Daniel should, I don't know, man. I didn't boot. Here's another example. I didn't get rid of Cletus. I didn't tell Cletus. I invited Cletus up here many times, and he was busy and he couldn't come. And since the stream isn't run as it used to be every night at 9, because we had a break in the action, and He's on the internet every day. I go over to Clue Stream many times a week, not to get involved, but to just hit like. I do that with a lot of creators that don't know it. I'm not trying to get a pat on the back, but I go into many creators, including Lana, including Harsh, and him. I disagree with some of his perspectives. I disagree when he tries to solve the crime, but he too, again, is trying to understand the facts that are given us. And he's trying, and I go in there and I'll hit like. Miss Potts, I go in and I hit like, even if I don't got time to listen to it. The state claims have yet to be challenged, and the state, but Ann has challenged them, and the state's own statements challenge their own statements. If that makes any sense, don't tell me these girls went to bed at 4:37 a.m. What up there, Twiz? You can't make that argument that they went to bed at 4:37 a.m. Yet they did make that argument. And yet many people are under the impression that these young women went to bed at 4:37 a.m. And that is absolutely patently a lie. It's wrong. It's not true. Anybody's welcome to jump up into the stream. I appreciate that, Mary Jane. I try to be sensible, and I try to make things pretty simple. You're making assumptions on the state's narrative, who has continuously lied to us. I don't know what that means, Shirley. But I'm not making assumptions. And I've said this through the whole process since I've been around on this in true crime. And when I was around in politics, the same point applies. When you're given 13 facts, 11 of them could be lies. But because you can't confirm their lies, you have to accept the data as presented. And try to understand the story it's telling you, and be open-minded that you're going to discover 11 lies, or be open-minded that all 13 pieces of information are true. You see, you have to accept what you're given, and you can't impale upon that your own belief, your own thoughts, your own. The fact that the state lies doesn't mean everything they say is a lie. And so, because that is true, and it has to be true, folks, because you cannot create a lie that isn't covering a truth. So when you tell a lie, you're trying to hide a truth. Therefore, the lie itself becomes indicative of a truth that was hidden when you uncover the lie. So when you're given all of this data, you have to accept it at face value and go with it. And you're going to find out down the road that these things were lies. And so the idea that these young women went to bed at 4:37 a.m., now we know, as it stands, is completely wrong. It's dishonest. It's untrue. They didn't go to bed at 4:37 a.m. They were up the whole morning, the whole day, right? But that's not what we were told early on. When we were told by the father, Steve, that Hunter was called to force the door open. Come on, we all know that happened, right? So you have to then try to understand the crime scene based on that piece of information that you're being told is a fact. Now we know it's a lie. But as you weed through data, you're going to hit these quirks. You're going to hit these walls where your understanding of what you're being told comes to, let's say you understand certain things and it adds up to 10. Well, 6 months later, those certain things are completely untrue. They add up to shit, right? So now you have to reassess. You have to erase the add up to 10. You have to take the new facts, hold them against the information that made 10, and come to a new understanding of what you're being told or shown. That's why you don't shy away from facts, and don't shy away from information because you know people lie. Even if the person giving it to you is a known liar, you have to accept that piece of data for what it is and make a personal assessment or an understanding, right? So the fact that they've told the public that these young women went to sleep, we now know is completely dishonest, not true. So now our assessment of the crime scene changes. Now we know. We never fucking knew that Dylan Mortensen saw Zaina on her bedroom floor with her head towards the wall and her feet towards the door. We didn't know that for 2.5 years, folks. And so when Steve told us that Hunter was called to force the door, we of course accepted that. And now that we know that that's dishonest, it's not true, we assess the situation with this new understanding and try to make it make sense. The truth of it is, the absolute truth, no lie, is the doors were open when the police entered that property. The other truth is that Zaina's door was open. And the other truth is there was enough illumination for Dylan to make an identification the length of a hallway and not only identify the victim for who it was, but the exact position the body was in. These are now new pieces of data that are pure fact. You can put them on your wall and write it down. They will not change. So again, my explanation as to how I'm sharing how I process things. You try to make sense of the data you're given without trying to consider whether it's a falsehood. You have to accept it for it being what it is. It's data. Whether it's true or false isn't relevant when that data is given to you. You make your assessment and you move forward. And as that data is then contradicted, you go back and you make a different understanding of the truth. Now you know that data is a lie, a misrepresentation, or an omission, right? That's what we're dealing with when it comes to Dylan's behavior when she went down to Bethany's room. That piece of factual information also aids in us saying the police initially said that the two girls slept downstairs. There's truth to that, but they left out a massive part of that. And so a lot of people were arguing earlier, why are they saying Dylan was on the second floor when the police were saying originally she was sleeping in Bethany's room? Now we understand how those things have come together because both things are true. People couldn't accept both things were true. Now, based on factual data, as factual as we're ever going to get, the truth of the matter is from Dylan's own mouth and from Bethany and her text messages, Dylan, in fact, was. She was, in fact, in her room. Okay? She was, in effect, in her room. See, but here's the thing, sweet and salty. She says, I'm not convinced she saw Zaina or just a blanket. Okay. Wait till something comes up to show that. But you can't take what you're saying right here and impose that view on the data that you have. That's where people are making big mistakes. You're imposing your view of what you think or what you believe Dylan witnessed. But what Dylan witnessed is in writing. What Dylan is saying is in writing. Whether it's true or not, look, you could be right, but there's no evidence to support that. So you have to accept what you have. Make an understanding of it and then wait. Like I'm telling you, this case is the perfect case in how to think. Look how many things that we were told and led to believe that a lot of people refuse to believe, myself included. However, it's not about believing, right? No, I'm not picking and choosing what's truth. You are. In fact, sweet and salty, you're doing that. You see? You are doing that, not me. I accept 100% at this moment in time the documented information provided about Dylan's movements. I accept those text messages between her and Bethany, and I accept the explanation given that Dylan left her room and saw Zaina when she looked down the hallway. I accept that. I'm not picking and choosing. You are. You won't accept that because you think Zaina was covered with a blanket. Okay. But you're making the first mistake of people that really don't process things in a thinking manner. You're using your ability to believe, and I'm not. Look, there's no sense in questioning it and trying to make a conversation out of questioning it because you have no data to support that question. There is no information that Zaina was covered with a blanket. There's none. Therefore, it's an inappropriate question. It's a good personal thought to keep to yourself. It's possible, but there's no data to support that. Like there was never any data to support Brian Koberger used his shower curtain to protect his car. Yet people ran with that. And this is what I mean about how we should interact with data. The data can be 100% wrong, but until you can confirm it, it's a fool's errand to run out and try to impose other thoughts on it. Yeah, I get that. You follow me, sweet and salty? I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just telling you. I still question everything that was said there. There's no doubt about that. But I'm not going to interpret that any different than what's being told to me. I may question, well, when did she see this man in black? Did she see him when she looked out her door? Is that true? That's what she's telling us. She's also suggesting, based on her ability to identify Zaina, that there was more illumination that we're not aware of, right? Yeah, and see, to believe that and then use that as a narrative to try to understand what's being shared is just, it's just not the way you should be doing this. I mean, you can't discount her statements completely. You have to accept them. They're documented. I don't agree with all the things Dylan Morton has said either, but as more and more comes out, we're getting a better and more clear understanding of what appears to have happened in that home, right? We definitely are getting a very clear understanding from what we've been given, which, folks, can still be changed when more information is added. This is why I keep scrolling this across the screen. Try to explain this. There is no other point in time aside from 4:17 a.m. None. There's nothing that we know of that can contradict the 4:17 a.m. as being a pivotal moment in time for when the crime was initiated or when the crime was first known to be in progress. There's nothing that can argue that because there is no information to contradict that. That does not mean that I am right. That is a conclusion based on the information they've given us, information that the defense has also spoken to, and therefore it's a reasonable conclusion to say the killings began at 4:17. Could they have began at a different time, hours earlier or hours later? Yes, they could have. But there's nothing you can show me that makes that possible. Nothing. The 4:17 a.m., I can show you 4 events that took place that make this extremely likely, if not, in fact, true. And at the very worst, if it's wrong, here's the best part. If it's wrong, it's still right because it's as right as you could possibly get with the information that you have, right? So this assessment is correct. Up until the time other data is then added, okay, or corrections to the data that we use to come to that conclusion is altered for the truth. Up until those 2 events, that is the most accurate assessment of when the crime began or when it was first noticed to be in progress. You can't debate that that's an inaccurate assessment because it can't be inaccurate. You have no information from 3:50 to 4:17, nothing. That does not mean nothing happened. But until that data arrives, this conclusion stands. And this conclusion will change when more data arrives. But you always have to have a reasonable conclusion based on the info giving you. And then always be open to realize that your conclusion could be completely fucking wrong. But here's the thing, is what I'm trying to say. You don't have to trust anything. I don't understand how you fight. This is like a common sense 101. That, Yvonne, that may be absolutely right. The camera was triggered. Some movement was picked up, right? But until we have information to confirm that camera, there was movement that caused that camera, what that movement might have been, that's a great piece of data to have. Now, we're going to continue to hold out until we find out. You could be 100% right in that assessment. Do we know that camera didn't record consistently? Do we know that it only recorded once it picked up movement? I mean, I think these cameras have different settings, so we don't know. But you are right in your explanation of how most of these cameras work. You're totally right. that means that there may be data from that camera that began prior to 417. Or it may be what you're saying, somebody went through the beam to turn that camera on at 417. Could have been a dog, could have been a cat, could have been a human being, right? So you could be, your information is very valuable, but until we have an answer to it, it's valuable data that we want an answer to. We can't make a conclusion on that until we have that answer, right, Yvonne? I think you'll agree with that. Until we understand how that camera was triggered, or if it did not need to be triggered, until we know that for sure, then more questions. Who triggered it? Was it a who? Was it a dog? Was it Murphy? Was it somebody that participated in the crime? Was it? There's a whole bunch of what as to whether that was triggered or not. Now, kudos to an understanding of devices and holding out to understand how the devices work come into play here. Yeah. No, Yvonne. And that's what I mean, folks. And that, what does Lucy see? Mine records 24/7 and alerts me with clips and different. Yeah, well, Heather's paranoid. I agree with you, Twiz. And you guys, look at any of you are willing to come up here, teach me. Maybe I'm completely wrong in what I'm proposing or showing people. This is the process that I try to walk myself through, and it served me really well. It's really served me really well. My idea of the crime scene, there's no proof of a forced entry has been confirmed, but that doesn't mean somebody didn't come in from the outside. That whole observation was based on maybe we should look at the occupants that weren't murdered as suspects, right? That's a great question the defense should be aware of. Send it off to Ann Taylor. You're right. Was that camera designed that it required a trigger before it would start recording? But we also know that Ann Taylor is saying that dog barked continuously for at least 30 minutes from 417 forward. So we have statements from the defense that put into question whether that camera required a trigger or if they were paranoid like Biff. We all know who Biff is. Was that camera the camera that picked up the continual barking for 30 minutes? If so, then we know, or we can assess that the triggering of it may have not been required by anything more than it just being on, right? So you following that, Yvonne? Where Ann stated to the court that dog barked for 30 minutes after that 4:17 p.m. or a.m. You're aware that that's been stated in open court? And that being the case, that may answer the question to the camera. It may not. It may not. Right? Right? So this is like, yeah, see, that's what I mean. That's the process of thought. You have an extraordinarily great ability to think, and you're going to wait to find out how that camera operates. And like me, you're going to hope that somebody fucking brings that up, right? Because that's a hell of a fucking point of view. Was the camera triggered? How many times was it triggered? If it was a triggered device, that means people were moving around that camera, moving in and out of that fucking house from 417 forward, right? Well, we are blind in many areas, but many areas have been filled in. And sadly for Steve Gonzalez, the areas that have been filled in contradict everything he's told the public. Yeah. Yeah. And that's folks, I do want an answer to that for sure. I didn't even consider that until you put it into this stream. And this is what I mean by thinking, folks. We don't know the answer to what like me, you don't know that, and I don't know that 417 is unquestionably the time this crime started. However, based on data that they've given us, just like based on what Yvonne is saying, until we know how that camera is activated, that's a fucking valid point. I tend to consider it at this point, unless there was something else picking up that audio, I think Ann was referring to the same camera that picked up the thud, the whimper, and the dog barking. Yvonne, just so you know, I honestly give credence to the idea that it is that camera that recorded all of this. And we'll see, time will tell. Doesn't mean I'm right, but it does kind of fit with the narrative that we do have. Yeah, and that's fair enough, Yvonne. But I'm going with the maybe the tripod camera. Yeah, we don't know if there was a tripod camera translucent. I've not seen anything about a tripod camera. Hey, what's up, Seahawks? The camera that we're referring to is the camera that was to the, I think, the northeast, 50 feet away from the home. And I'm relatively positive, Yvonne, that that's the camera. Ann Taylor, is that her name? Yeah, I believe. I'll call her Ann. I don't want to get the I don't want to call her Thompson, that crack smoking claws looking dude. But here, see, folks, it's this kind of observations. It's this kind of a discussion. It's this kind of a discussion that is profoundly helpful. It's fair. It's not solving the crime. It's not impugning people like Harsh or who's that guy? Not Harsh Real. Who's that? The Eon guy, the neighbor. It's not impugning people at the grub truck. It's not trying to create stories from blurry pictures. It's trying to understand the facts that are available to us and accepting that these facts may have hidden information that will reveal itself or not. And that our facts, as we interpret them, could wildly change as more of these fucking doors are opened and more data gets poured out into the stream here, right? We've been able to confirm that what Steve has told the public has all been dishonest. Whether he did that intentionally or not, whether he's being lied to, whether he's the one that took the information given it and interpreted it the way he delivered it, we don't know. Time will probably tell. So let me see here what Biff is saying. Biff is saying she was given the clips and the audio has been removed starting way before the time of the crime, then gave her the whole thing on 10 May 2024. That's the camera that the car expert said he could not identify the car because it was too blurry. Maybe the traffic going, that would be, now look at this. Look at this. Look at this statement here. Listen to this now, folks. So here's my mind in action. That's the camera the car expert said he could not identify the car. Was it the traffic triggering that camera, Yvonne? If the camera is triggered, is it triggered? It's obviously triggered by something. And could the trigger be activity on the road near it? Is that the camera that they're saying is 50 feet away from Zaina's bedroom? And if that is the camera, and if it is a camera that gets triggered, once triggered, how much time does it continue before it resets? And if triggered by motion, look at that, Yvonne, the data that was just drawn from the observation of the camera. Fantastic exercises in thinking without impugning people, without making conclusions, but honest questions that need answers. You see? Right. Look at that, folks. And these types of analysis that we're doing, and these we're trying to make sense of things like I did with killings beginning at 417. I make perfect sense as to why I come to that conclusion. And accept that conclusion could be so fucking wildly wrong that it's an ignorant statement in the future. And we'll look back at that and say, damn, that was fucking stupid. Always recognizing, though, that at this moment in time, there's nothing else, nothing that denotes the actual beginning or the ongoing nature of that crime, except for the events that we now know started at 417. But still, later on, believe me, if this changes, if data comes out and shows this to be wildly wrong, I'll be excited and happy to admit that if what is added to this story, if more data comes forward that's verified, right, altering this conclusion, I'd be getting a new education. I'll be learning something new, and that to me, well, I guess I'm a boring fucking dude, but that's exciting to me. Having accurate information that you can draw an understanding from. So translucent, are you DM? Who's DM? No, let's not go anywhere with each other in the chat. I don't know. I don't know who translucent is, and I don't think it's any of our business who any of us are. I mean, I tell everybody I'm Bruno Pelicano because I am. I don't give a fuck. Come knock on my fucking door, but be attractive. And blonde or brunette or redhead, I'm not picky. But don't be so big that you leave stretch marks in the bathtub, okay? If that's the case, please spare us both the chaos of that situation, right? A man or a woman. If you're big enough to leave stretch marks in the bathtub, forget about it, okay? I ain't feeding you. Oh my God. I can't see that comment, so I assume I'm blocked. I blocked that troll. You may have. Look, let me get rid of that. I'm glad, Norma, you put that forward. There's a lot of you folks in here that definitely we have a lot of similarities in the audience. And look, I think that's also indicative of a lot of folks that have huge followers. And then you listen to somebody like that stupid Daniel, and you ask yourself, where is the common sense in these conclusions that they're making? Where's common sense in saying that they got Koberger's car on video? Where's the common sense in that? When Brett Payne testified in court that the video and or the images that they have in their possession, all 8,000 of these fucking things, do not identify Brian Koberger and his car specifically. He has a like vehicle to suspect vehicle 1. So the fact that you just immediately jump to say that proves that's Brian is because that's what you're being told to think. And that's the difference between the group of people that go over there and group of people that come into streams like mine or Lana's and many others, right? But we're outnumbered. You got the Bubbly Waters of the world and the Tommies of the world, and there's so many of these other fucking people out there telling you all these stories. You got that what's his name there? That paparazzi dude telling you all these fucking stories and making all these connections and impugning all of these people and accusing them of being involved, or here's how the crime was. It's just, and I agree, those people are no different than the people over at Daniels. They're the same empty-headed fucking people. It's just they just believe that he's innocent, and the people over at Daniels believe that he's guilty, and neither one of them should believe a fucking thing. Right? Neither one of them should believe a fucking thing. And the reason they shouldn't believe a fucking thing is because the evidence isn't in. A complete fucking rundown of everything has not been given. There has been no trial. The complete discovery that's in the possession of the defense and prosecution has not yet been revealed. And so we're taking little pieces and we're taking chunks of a vast amount of data, just a vast amount of data. And we're trying to sort through it to get a clear, honest understanding of what that data is showing us. And I'm sorry, I'll never get over the fact that car that they claim left WSU at 247 is not Brian's. It's factually not his. WSU heading to Moscow went off the air at 2:47 a.m. is a misstatement. It's an untruth. It's a lie. Not only did Brian's phone not go off the network, but Brian's phone wasn't in that fucking car. Okay. Brian's phone was in a similar vehicle heading south that was handed off to a tower south of WSU in a completely opposite direction. Whether that time is even that time, here's just so I want to try to clear this up so people understand why that time is important. And like I said, anybody is welcome to join me up here because they can actually help me make more sense of this, because I do fuck this up to someone. In my mind, I think I'm not making it simple enough for it to be simple. Okay. The reason why the 2:47 a.m. matters, and it matters more than anything else as far as I'm concerned, is because that's the car they track. And that's the car that they argue is in all these other videos that denote that car's presence around that house. And the 2:47 a.m. car can't beat Brian. That's why, folks, people think, well, it was an hour plus. Why does it matter? It was way ahead of the crime. But it specifically matters in one of the most important ways ever. Okay? And the important way is what I just stated. It's that vehicle, and only that vehicle, that they track. Whether they track it accurately or not is not relevant. But any attempt to locate that vehicle is fucking ignorant. All attempts to locate that vehicle from 2:47 a.m. forward, welcome, Delby Rush, is a fucking fool's errand, because it's completely identifiably not to be Brian Koberger. Welcome there, Delby Rush. I'll be quiet and speak your piece if need be. You've got yourself muted, and I can't unmute you.
I got it.
There you go.
I don't know how that happened. Oh no, you're asking for help. I'm here to help.
Right.
Go ahead.
So the 2:47 a.m. vehicle,
Okay.
or 2:50, whatever they claimed that car drove to Moscow and went off network. Car left WSU at 2:40 something a.m. and then went off network at that time. It was turned off. And that's the vehicle that they're now suggesting or telling us is Brian. And that's the car that they try to daisy chain into all these little pieces of data from different videos around that town, right? But that car is provably not Brian. Unquestionably not Brian, because Brian's phone did not go off the network at the time they claim. His phone remained on the network for 7 more minutes traveling south and handed itself off to another cellular tower heading south. So we can verify that for 7 minutes beyond this time, Brian Koberger was driving in a completely opposite direction. Therefore, to use the car that did head to Moscow as the car involved in the crime proves the crime wasn't committed by Brian.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think a lot of the problems surrounding the vehicles and some of the other pseudo evidence is that the way Ann Taylor talks about it, she uses the same language that the prosecution uses. I've heard her state like it's a matter of fact that Brian's phone stopped reporting to the network. I've heard her say Brian's DNA on the knife sheath. I mean, if everyone would look at it, the first thing I would say relating to what we're talking about right now is that his phone doesn't control the networks. The networks control his phone. In other words, the signal is coming from the sector, and I would only let them talk about sectors, individual sectors. But the signal from the telco controls the cell phone. Your cell phone is available. It puts out a signal saying, "Here I am," and then it allows itself to be taken control of. It doesn't stop reporting.
No, but let me just say this though, and this is where Cy Ray is going to come in, and this is where I think Ann has been trying to lead the judge to understand, is that the phone that went off network is Brian's going south, and they never checked for the handoffs of that phone, which showed the direction he was traveling, right? The car that they're saying is Brian's, there's no phone signal related to Brian coming from that car. So my point is that if you take the facts that we have and you hold them up in the air and look at them, they are describing a car that traveled to Moscow that may in fact be involved in this crime. But it's provably not Brian's car. Whether it's the same make, model, and year doesn't matter. Their own data exonerates Brian Koberger.
Yeah, I'm just saying that they needed to, the defense needed to approach the evidence, such that it is in different ways. Like I would have been asking and demanding to know why that sector gave up control of Brian's phone signal. Where did another sector take it over from the telco? I mean,
She's saying that there's a handoff that they don't deal with.
yeah, but see, that's why she can't. But she always talks about it from the perspective of Brian's phone. Brian's phone was he handed off to another. She makes it sound like his phone is in control. It's not. By pointing out,
Well, yeah.
by
Listen,
pointing out,
I never observed it that way. As an
yeah,
observer, what you're saying is more technical
yeah,
than
but
what I
it's
think the
more
casual
correct.
observer is going to understand.
Well, it would lead to they would have to provide the evidence of the handoff.
Anne says that she has that. They ignored the handoffs. Anne has already stated that there's handoffs that phone made for 7 minutes beyond where they say it went off network. So they're
Yeah,
right.
but-
Here's the point, though. Here's the point. They are right. Brian's phone stopped reporting to the network. He could have turned it off. There's truth to that because it switched to another tower out of that network. It went to a different tower that's not the towers. That's why that Jennings couldn't bring up the third tower in court, or there would have been a Franks hearing. They only reviewed 2 towers, and Brian's phone did drop from one tower. One of those 2 towers lost his connection where they assume he turned off his phone. That's what they're telling us.
One of those
did not drop. It went to another tower and got picked up.
Yeah, but it's not his phone controlling that, so it doesn't. To talk about it being turned off doesn't even make sense, because the tower, not the tower, but the sector, the transceiver, gave up. It discontinued its connection to Brian's phone. I think they need to turn this whole thing around, because there's a different way of looking at it. If you look at it more through the technology, then
Well, I think the simple basic explanation I'm trying to share with the audience is that the car that they track is provably not Brian's. His phone remained active for 7 more minutes, but it was during that time it was handed off to another tower he continued south with.
yeah.
So do you follow me? My point is that the time that they give is relevant to show Brian's innocent.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Right. And so how all of those intricacies of the towers work in the phone, those you're probably 1,000% correct, but I think that does hurt this, because simple stupid is the best way to explain stuff. That's what I try to do, is make things real simple.
Yeah,
it's easier to explain, and it doesn't, it doesn't take.
but you can make it.
Against,
Yeah, but I can make it stupid simple. The telco does basically, it's a catch and release. It catches your phone signal, and then when it decides to, it releases it. And that's what happened. The first one released his, and then another one caught it.
Right. Yeah, that
But
doesn't
his phone's not doing that, though. It's not his phone doing it. They're trying to put everything. The prosecution is wording everything to make it sound like Brian's in control. Okay, liability follows control. That's simple enough. And everything that they do to make it look like Brian's in control, and Taylor just goes along with. I don't understand why.
She has to let them speak their piece, and then she has to contrast the information they're given. For instance, he didn't turn his phone off. Right? She'll show that in court. His phone didn't get turned off. His phone just switched towers. And so to the tower that he got out of range from, it would appear that his phone was now off. If you don't look at the third tower, that conclusion isn't unreasonable. Okay? It's not a blatant lie. They took the data from the 2 towers and came to that conclusion. Okay, they could be wrong, but that's where she's going to show his phone did not go off, get turned off. It maintained a connection to a network through the third tower that they didn't investigate.
Yeah, I would say that the prosecution is lying by omission in that situation.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
Okay, yeah, we agree on most things.
Yeah, there's so much omission in this, and there's so much twisting of data. Like they're telling us the girls went to bed at 4:37 a.m. That's a blatant lie. And yet there it is. And then to support that conclusion, the next text message they released to the public is at 10:23 a.m. So from 4:37 to 10:23 a.m. it's dead. And we're to understand that dead zone is Dylan and Bethany sleeping. That's a lie, a complete fucking lie. Dylan maintained her phone until 6:30 in the morning on that phone and beyond.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with you guys. They're straight line. What they're doing is they're trying to construct, and this is what a conspiracy theory is. They're trying to construct a situation out of flimsy or inaccurate data. It's a flim-flam scam. It's back in the day when a guy would pull into town with his horse and cart and sell you a cure for fucking, measles or something. And he's got colored water in a bottle he sells you. That's what's happened to our justice system. This is not about truth.
Terry, I want to tell Terry Martin, she has on there about Hitler calling. It's actually worse than that, Terry. Because he didn't impugn Cy Ray. He impugned the evidence, so he declared the evidence to be false, which is the jury's job.
Yeah. Well, I think he misunderstood that, and I think Cy Ray, may have been some documentation he could have provided to support what he was telling the court, and or it was there and the judge didn't really see it for what that evidence was saying. I think Judge Hitler overreacted, and again he's a like a personal injury judge. What he's dealt with his whole career is not crime. So he's in charge. Like you want to sue Walmart for falling on their floor, he would be the judge.
Well, to me, Judge Hitler, he's a guy. He has issues, and he takes them out in a way like a coquettish type people that they're extending their hand out with something in it for you and then taking it away, and he's always doing that. He's always making it look like he's going to do the right thing, and then he does the exact opposite. And he's done that with the deadlines for discovery. He's done it with the Franks hearing and other things.
Yeah, the whole system is corrupt.
He has an attitude.
The corruption in our system is not that it's corrupt to protect a criminal, to protect a crime cartel, or to enrich.
Right.
The corruption in the system is the training and the way they're taught to investigate, and the way they're able to just to the exclusion of everything else. They focused on Brian, even when the simplicity of the phone and the travel of the car is so obvious that you would have thought that any reasonable-minded individual would have rethought their accusations. They would have re-looked at their own investigation and said, yeah, that ain't Brian's car. Who's in that car? You see? That's what a normal fucking thinking person would have done. They would have just they would have just ignored the proof Brian was going in a different direction, not understanding that if Brian is involved in the crime, well, the car you're tracking, and you keep telling us you're tracking suspect vehicle 1, it's provably not his, and to the exclusion of all else, you dumb fucks won't sit back and question your own conclusions.
What is Roland Moda trying to say here?
Everybody out here they've solved the crime.
Y'all ridiculing?
I don't
what
really
does that
get into
mean?
the discussion. I don't know what it means. Maybe the streamers that I'm ridiculing. Because there's so many people out here that they solved the crime. Well, then go to fucking Moscow and make a citizen's arrest. I don't know what to say to people that think they solved the crime.
I'm not talking about any streamers. I'm talking about the reality of the equipment, like cars and cell towers and cell phones. I'm just talking about, the real stuff that's in the case. I'm different. They're characters. I mean, these people with channel. You're a character.
I'm a character.
Yeah, for sure. I am too. I mean, so what are you going to do? I mean,
but I try to stay within the bounds of the data given us. And if I'm going to come to an assessment, I'm not. You notice none of my data drags me to the grub truck. Enon Harsh doesn't drag me to him either. It doesn't drag me to the Banfield. It doesn't drag me to a photograph that you got to blow up 8,000 fucking times so it's so pixelated. You can see Bigfoot.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Bigfoot is giving a blowjob to fucking Littlefoot. That's in the video. Look.
Yeah.
I just think that when you think that you can solve this crime, you're running a fool's errand. And the issue here isn't solving the crime. The issue should be for us as an American citizen. What do we do to stop our judicial system from operating this way?
Yeah.
What can we do? And what my job isn't to convict or exonerate Brian Kohlberger.
No, it's not. But
And the
but
reason
that
the
band,
public has a right to see, you know why you have a right to see what's going on? Does anybody even know why that right exists? It's so you could keep track of the government.
oh yeah,
Not whether the guy's guilty or
Yeah,
innocent.
none of
You're
this stuff
Your
should
right
be
to
sealed.
knowledge. Yes, your right to know what these cases are so you the citizen, you the government, because that's who the fuck we are. You have a right to the information in this case because you're the government, not Bill fucking Thompson.
Right, yeah, and we have to have it right up front, right when they first get it, before they have time to figure out
Right.
how to fit it to everything else. They're like really good pipe fitters, you know. Give them a little piece of pipe, and they'll figure out a way to make it look like anything except what it is.
Look at that. Kane's ready to go to Ohio. I just
I'm
look at
here.
I think
Where's he?
Kane B.
Where's he going? Tell him to stop by. I'm in Ohio.
I just think that look, there's so many different ways that this could have happened, whether it be Brian or not, whether it be more than one or not, whether it be people that we caught on video randomly, or look at all of those theories. Every one of them could be right. I don't fucking know. Neither do the people giving them to you. That's the best part. None of us know. The only one that knows who killed those people is who killed those people. That's it. That we can all agree on that, right? Whether it was 1 or 100, only them people know what they did.
I don't agree with that.
Well, how do you know who did it?
I don't know who did it, but I think there are more. I think there are more people than the killers who know who
But you're not taking my information at face value. The only way to know
I can't.
The only way to know for sure who did it is those who did it. They know unquestionably, not because they told someone, I'm telling you, or because someone was in on the plan. The guys or girls or a combination of such, those people that committed the crime know unequivocally they did it. That group of people unquestionably know, or that individual knows beyond all, there is no reasonable doubt they did it. And those people are who you need to find. And I don't know how the fuck you're going to find them.
Well, and that's where I'm saying there's a second layer of people who know either who did it for sure, for certain, or they know enough to make it a high probability. And so that's what we need to look for. You know, things like, it makes sense to look at the Banfield video and say, this is really highly unusual behavior happening basically at the end of the frat path from 1122. This is odd. Now, I'm not talking about, you know, some people see Odin raising the 7 demons from hell in the middle of all this.
Let me ask you this. Is a car speeding away a car moving at a high rate of speed away from that house suspicious?
No, well,
yeah.
At that time it is. At that time it is.
Yes.
It's suspicious in that context.
And so they're not. Here's what I'm trying to share with you. I'm trying to point this out to people is that everything they've told us is unusual. Everything they've told us could be correct in their story, or it could be wildly inaccurate. But that's the data that we should focus on. The idea that we should look now at other coincidental things that took place and try to connect them to the crime is essentially a fool's errand, because there is nothing in the documentation that gives the provision for that. Now, to accuse Enon Harsh, or to accuse Jack, or to accuse this guy or that guy, or build a case against the guys at the band is a fool's errand, in my opinion, because you're never, ever going to bring that to fruition, ever. And so you're impugning people, you're impugning frats, even to impugn drug dealers. I'm sorry, they're people too. I mean, to what end do you stop with these these scenarios of what could have, should have, maybe happened?
Okay. Unfortunately, our government has put us in a situation where that's what we have to do, because that's the only way we're going to know what happened. And we have to.
You're never going to know, because the government involved in this case is just so corrupt. And I don't mean corrupt for a monetary gain. Their process of investigation and the conclusions that they've made is the corruption, because they've not been trained how to fucking think. They're not trained to that level of efficiency. And they're willing, to the exclusion of all else, to multiple other DNA samples in areas directly associated with the crime, to fucking ignore them. That's the corruption. That behavior is corrupt.
You're
Whether
right.
they're
And-
trying to listen, forget that they're protecting anybody, forget that they're helping anybody, forget that they know the real truth, forget all of that. Forget any of those possibilities. The fact of the matter, the most basic form of corruption is obvious in this case, and it's the process and the training of the people and how they executed this case. That's corrupt. I don't give a fuck if he did it to hide the president of the college they could be protecting. That's not to me relevant. What's relevant, what we as citizens should understand, is this corruption is systemic across the country. They're not trained properly, and they're confident in the improper training that they run by. And therefore, you end up with a system where justice is no longer justice. That's why to
one
me,
part of it.
it's not important who did this.
It
What's
is
more
important.
More important to me is
It's
that
one.
the system gets pointed out and the system gets corrected for its faults.
That's higher up in the hierarchy. Yeah, but there's a hierarchy of work product we want to find. You know, a lot of people just want to know who did it because it's really, really, really bothering them that people were able to just go in there. You know, there was no resistance. Everything.
Let me say, what they got right, they got half of it right. The half that they got right is they know what I'm explaining as far as corruption exists. They may not understand it on the level I'm sharing, but they understand that corruption is nationwide. They understand their officials are untrustworthy, and they understand when you can point out discrepancies in this investigation that it's fucked up. And so now they think they're going to do their job, or they think that it's up to them now to go find out who did it. And meanwhile, all the people that did all the things that gave you the distrust are never held to fucking account, and it never changes. That's the rut we're in as a group of people in this country, right? I mean, the bottom line is these people.
That's one right. That's one of the ruts, but I think you've got another one. You know that you're disseminating, which is that we have to face the reality of what people are and what we have to work with. You know, people we have to infer. We have to go with the highest probability when we don't have a fact. Okay,
Why aren't we going after the people why aren't we going after the officials then? See, where's the value? You could have the exact fucking answer. That Rollo, everybody in that chat room that has a conspiracy or they have what they think to be unrefutable evidence of who did it. How the fuck what good is that? I don't want to know.
Well,
I want a solution to why we have to even pretend we got to do that. I mean,
I'm not talking about those people. I'm just saying that there are pieces of evidence. Like, for example, the fact that the telco let go of Brian's signal and then another one picked it up. Okay, that's stuff we need to know and it has to be followed up on. And there's a lot of other.
But that tells a story about the ineptitude of the people that ran the investigation and the corruption that they're trained. They're trained.
Well, there's many stories in this case, though. A lot of things are converging. There's a lot of.
When do we coalesce to hold these people responsible? When do we coalesce and as a group focus on what can be fixed? Here's the funny part: as the citizens of this country, we can fix these issues without solving the crime if we concentrate on the issues that need to be repaired and those that are part of the problem. If they're focused on it and they're called out and shamed, you're working to solve the issue. As far as solving this individual crime, you got to get rid of these fucking losers that are running your justice system.
Well, the biggest problem, and in my opinion, and I'm sure you've seen this, there are serious problems, people who commit serious crimes that the justice system, even if it did everything right, it couldn't convict them.
And that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, but those people, it gets taken care of. Okay, the problem we have, in some situations, it does.
But in most, I'm one of them people that committed crimes.
Yeah,
and was never prosecuted for them because they couldn't prosecute me. But did the crime.
I know how that feels.
So the system is set up, as Ben Franklin said, I'd rather see 100 guilty go free than one man lose his freedom. And how do we get to that? How did we get so far away from that where people get on the internet and think that they have this inner need to solve this crime? And meanwhile, the people that listen, here's the connection that I share this with them. I have a common ground with those people. And here's the common ground. We both realize the system's fucked. We both realize that, or we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. My
Yeah.
difference between myself and them isn't now. If the police were honest, if the police didn't, to the exclusion of all else, focus on one guy and ran down all those other DNA samples, created names, did an investigation, right? Showed us that Brian, yeah, he went south and started with Brian and stayed with Brian and connected Brian to the house. I completely accept that, but only if it was done through an investigative process that had unimpeachable evidence. Everything they have here, like in the Karen Reed case, is a fucking conspiracy theory. You have to believe, because if you put any thought to their accusations of what that car is, where it falls apart. When you try to think about it, it doesn't fit. And they don't want us to think about that. All they want us to think is Brian did it. And so people realize deep down that the problem is the system itself. And so they feel the need to try to solve the crime. And I'm saying that energy and effort would be better applied if we tried to get these motherfuckers out of their position.
But we don't have a way to do that.
Yes,
we don't
do.
really have a way to do that.
Yes, we do.
Okay, well, let's
all of these people. Let me just give you this, Del. If every one of these streams that are trying to solve the crime literally paid only the attention to the officials that fucking solving the crime up to begin with, and streamed about that and sent fucking emails and letters about that, that would have an effect. It would take a little bit of time, but there'd be more to gain from doing it that way than there would be trying to solve the case.
Okay, but the chances of that happening is zero. So that's why I'm saying we can't do it.
Why? Because we'd rather be. Listen, this is why I'm here. Because we all want to be idiots and follow the fucking group. We all want to be a sheep. Because there's 80 streams that want to solve it and only a few streams that are trying to show people, listen, your solution isn't solving the crime. Your solution is pointing out the ineptitude and the corruption of the people that fucked the crime up. That's your solution. Literally. The only solution available to us as citizens. And that's not worth the time to put into. You're right. People
I'm just saying, I'm saying it's not going to happen. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that. That's the very best thing to do. You're right. You're right that that's how to solve the problem. And it's doable in the sense that, yeah, it's easy to do, except that people won't fucking do it.
Well, that's why I'm out here. And that's why I attack these other streams. And that's why some of these streamers have a very bad opinion of me. But here's the point. Listen, and I've said this before, like I'm telling you now, I have common ground with these people. But I don't find any value in trying to convict Enon Harsh. Because I shouldn't have to look at Enon Harsh. This case should have been presented to the public in a way that coalesces around the accused. And that's it. It still leaves him a trial. It still leaves the possibility he's innocent. But at least the investigation would make sense. Don't tell me 2.5 fucking years later that Dylan saw a dead body through an open door down a fucking hallway. Tell me that in the beginning. In other words, most people's opinion of this crime, whether guilt or innocent, wouldn't even, the issue is not even that. That's what I'm trying to say. It's look at the process these fucking jerk offs have put us through. And we're all out there trying to argue he's guilty or innocent, but just look how fucked up this case. Look how fucked up Karen Reed is. Look how fucked up Delphi is. And we don't.
Oh, this case is more messed up than. I don't think anybody really knows how bad Idaho 4 is messed up. It's insane. But that's like we were talking about earlier about transparency. Like, you know, the evidence has to be shown as soon as they have it, like you're just saying about what Dylan saw, because otherwise what happens is, and people get trapped in these things, these double binds or these false dichotomies that, like, they put out information in the PCA, okay, and then, or there'll be grand jury testimony, and then they'll put out a 911 call that contradicts the PCA, and then they put out the grand jury information that contradicts the 911 call, and then people try to say, oh, well, now we have this new, better information. No, it's all bad. It's all useless. It's all worthless, because if one contradicts the other, then, you know, by reason the other contradicts the first. So you can't use either one. But people
blatantly corrupt.
Exactly. That's the conclusion. Yeah.
That 8-hour hold should never have been left to the public. In fact, if you were going to leave the 8-hour hold to the public, then no other fucking information should have been released. They left that 8-hour hold. Listen, they left everybody to think that them girls went to fucking sleep. They left an 8-hour hole in this case when, in fact, the data and the evidence showed that from 4:17 a.m. forward, these girls were involved. not participating. I'm not accusing them of being involved in the crime, although there's room to make that argument. But they were involved in as much as they knew something fucking terrible was happening, and they maintained their alertness and their ability to stay awake long after that, all the way beyond the 911 call. That 8-hour fucking hole was created by the fucking officials, and it was pushed into the fucking public, and it stayed that way until finally the interviews with Dylan were released 2+ years fucking later. That's corruption. That's abject fucking corruption, and that's against the defendant. What you're doing is you're fucking Brian.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So this is what I mean. We need to find a way to fix that, folks. Not figure out who the fuck did it. That'll come when you fix the fucking problem of the people that should have found the person that did it the first time.
No, I think you have to have both. There's many parts to the solution of this. You know, I think people have to try to solve the crime. I it's hard to do.
But they spend no time. They spend no time trying to get the system back on the fucking rails.
I know, but
they're allowing it to run wild. You're allowing the system to run off the rails.
Yeah, but you're always thinking about the creators that, I don't know. I'm not going to name any, but they're just, I don't know, useless. Kind of get in the way.
They're the extreme. They're the extreme. But
yeah,
there's some that are not so extreme.
But there's a lot of them that are really good, and they're wrong sometimes, and sometimes they're really wrong. Like, it's kind of strange, but a lot of times, most of the time, they're coming up with really good information that it's the only way I would know anything about this case if it wasn't for these people making these really good,
How about that fantastic big fucking follower, that guy Drip Drop? Or TikTok,
oh yeah,
the fuck the clown circus guy.
Drip Drop.
That whatever his name, he needs penicillin, as far as I'm concerned. That guy poisons. That guy's in a position where he can actually assist in pointing out the fucking mistakes and the bullshit that these people have done.
He could do a great job of that.
Yes, he could. All of us could. That's what I mean. All of us. Tommy Jude could. That fucking crazy broad. What's her name? I want to call her Beetlejuice. I don't know. I forget her name.
Bubbly Waters.
Yeah. Bubbly Beetlejuice.
I even know who you don't like. That's terrible.
We all have the capacity to do the correct thing. And solving the crime is a fool's errand because there's 88 different solutions to this crime.
Oh, but it's not a fool's errand. No, it's not a fool's errand.
No, you're wrong. It solves nothing.
Yeah, but paparazzi's process got us some information we didn't have before. It's there. It might never have anything to do with it, but it's there.
There you go. There you go. Might not have anything to do with it, which is what I said, a fool's errand.
Yeah, but that we don't know. We don't know which parts do and don't.
I'm sorry. We're going to disagree on this, and you're going to have all of the regular answers that I would get from anybody that takes the situation the way you do. And that's just, to me, it's the idea that what I'm sharing holds less value than what you guys are doing is insane.
It's not, the two things are not mutually exclusive. They're interdependent.
No, they're mutually exclusive. Okay, my perspective and what they're doing here to us as a group of people is exactly what they want to do. Because we've been trained to believe in this and believe in that and not think through what's really taking place. What's happened here? 4 people were killed, and the people responsible for finding the fucking killers or killer have told us a fucking menagerie of lies and distractions and fucking stories, and they held information back, and they created a narrative that's untrue. And so what happened? What was the response? Here's what they counted on. They counted on some of the public accepting guilt, some of them accepting innocence, but definitely none of them paying attention to the jerk-offs that did this to us. That's who we're not paying attention to. Fair enough?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I see. The
Chief Fry, the fucking state police, the FBI, the prosecutor. People pay attention to the judge. Boy, they're very critical of the judge. But what about the people that presented all of this bullshit to us? That sent us all off in these crazy fucking directions. None of them to coalesce around any kind of a solution. You literally could have the name of the killer. And it would matter not.
No, the first and only honest reporter I saw. Do you remember they had that first? They were talking to the public on the third day, after the crime, and the 2 reporters are asking, there were 2 survivors. They were there. They didn't call 911. What? And
Does
then that
anybody
was the
know
end of it.
whatever happened to the Truth Riot podcast? I wasn't. I thought that girl was just smoking. Wow. And I paid attention because that chick was so smoking. If you guys want to know,
I must not have ever seen that, or I'd remember. I'm sure.
Oh man, I was hoping it was his sister, but we don't know if it was his wife. We don't know if it was his girlfriend. But I'm thinking, oh man, that's got to be his sister. But
Your odds are better if they're married.
Listen, that podcast did it, and it was doing well, and it was making a name for itself, and then poof, it just vanished. And what was the name of it again? There's someone up here in the chat room brought up. Look, if you could listen, let me ask you this, and make the answer an instantaneous yes or no. No thought. You can't give any thought to this question. Answer it free, okay?
I'm not like I'll try.
No. I'm asking you. Do not think. Give me a yes or no. I take the name of the murderer to Bill Thompson and he does something with it. Yes or no?
No.
Okay.
I mean, he'll
that makes my point unassailable.
Yeah.
Our problem isn't who did it.
That's the biggest problem. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Hang on one second. I got a phone call. Hang on.
Oh, okay, cool.
You can entertain the room. I don't know.
Okay. Right. Anyone here? Don't they all go away? I can't see the chat, so I can't see the comment. Can't see comments or questions. So yeah, it looks like you're talking to me
all day long.
I think what we have to have is a clear distinction between concern over the general overall corruption and concern for the specific case and individuals in it, because it's two different realms, really. And the argument about the corruption, systemic corruption, is going to require probably different approach than what most of us are doing with the actual case of the four homicides. Because belief is very important in solving problems, and so people have to be able to use their beliefs, and they have to be able to.
It was my dentist office.
It was your dentist?
Yeah. They want to confirm my Monday appointment, and of course, I'm not going to miss it. I'm an appointment keeper kind of guy. But anyway, this is why I say I'm not saying that there's zero value in trying to figure out who did this, but I think that what you're going to gain from it is the net zero anyway. And because of that, our time would be much better served going and getting involved and making an issue of those that did this investigation.
Well, we can do that. You've talked about doing it before. I would do it to be a part of it, of doing that. But I'm saying,
in addition to that, Delby, in addition to that, the simplest thing that we should all do as a group is go after all these user agreements for all these websites, all these apps, and all of these fucking technology things that we use. And go after them for look at. If we all
that's a big part of it.
Coalesce around our privacy must be sacrosanct. You must protect my data and not sell it and profit from it ever, or we're going to leave. Leave. Goodbye, X. See you later, Elon. Protect my data like it's your own kids or your own personal data. You should not have to fucking surrender your personal information to use this guy's website. As a matter of fact, your website, you can wipe your ass with it. If you don't protect the individuals that participate on your site that earns you fucking revenue, right? You shouldn't then go and take my personal data and start selling and tracking me around my life with fucking ads and commercials and bullshit. I don't need that. I'm an American. And I don't think anybody, regardless of who you vote for, can disagree with the sense in that. Your privacy is your shit. And I shouldn't have to click on a box to accept your user agreement if the user agreement sacrifices any of my privacy. Imagine if people, and that's not an unreasonable ask. That's a sensible thing to demand from people you do business with, right? That in conjunction with when you see prosecutors that are doing what this guy's doing here.
Yeah, but let me just say that the people who are trying to solve the crime, at least they're doing something. They're active people. So let them keep doing what they're doing, and then you got to find other people to take the bigger pursuit, the broader attack against corruption, which is a really worthwhile thing to do. But
But if
you know,
you did that, but here's the thing: if you did that, then you wouldn't have to figure out who did it. You
yeah,
could
but
have confidence in the people that now are in those positions doing the best they can with what they have.
yeah, we got to work with what we have, and we have some people. Some people are really good, you know, and as a group, really good at getting information about this trial. It's
And
the
we
only
should get
reason
them
we know
people
it's
voted
corrupt.
into office, or we should convince them people to get a career in this.
Let me ask you a yes or no question. Have the people who are trying to solve this crime, people on YouTube, like you know, Lana Banana, and
I don't think Lana's trying to
who-
solve the crime as much as she's trying
whoever.
to actually.
Oh,
I
it's a
don't
yes or
think
no
Lana.
question. I haven't asked it yet.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to be positive about her. And other good creators like her, what they're doing. Now I forgot. You threw me off. You
Good.
got that good strategy together.
It's not a strategy. I didn't do anything intentional. It's a
I
natural.
know. That's why I'm
It's
saying.
natural.
That's why I'm saying it's just natural. I mean, that's amazing. It's like a superpower. But the people who have been, you know, getting all this information about it, and they're getting all this, you know, real information, and they're doing it because they want to solve the crime. Does that information all the information they've gathered, is that helpful? Yes or no?
No,
Oh, what?
no, it's not helpful. It's not helpful at all. Our problem isn't who did it.
But the information they're getting is useful, isn't it?
No, it's to who?
Well, it's the only way we know there's corruption going on there.
What good is knowing? I don't want the illusion of decency. I don't want the illusion of understanding. I don't want to know. For instance, I don't give a fuck how many people went to Epstein Island. None of my business. Absolutely none. Unless their activity on that island is criminal. Then I have a right to know their name because I'm a fucking American citizen and you committed a crime that broke an American law. Now I want your name. But unless that can be shown, I don't give a fuck who went to that island. And a lot of people can't wrap their head around how simple it is to view the world that way. That's what America is about.
But you know, when there's a fire,
what?
When there's a house on fire, the fire department goes there, the EMT goes there, the police go there.
Yeah.
You know, and then the fireman puts out the fire, and you say, well, what are those other two people groups doing, wasting their time coming out here? You know, you have to have all three.
No, you're wrong. You're using an analogy that doesn't fit what you're trying to say. You
think it
created
does.
an analogy that you're on the wrong think. I am not saying that people that are supposed to go put out a fire, if they here's an example. Let's call this Brian Koberger case a fire. All these guys came up and started hosing down the neighbor's house. I got a fucking problem with my firemen, brother. Okay, that's the correct analogy, right?
But how would you know? How would you know about this case and the corruption if it wasn't for all these people who are putting together?
I knew about it. Listen, I was in politics for years, dude. I had 28,000 followers on Twitter. I was a very well-known person. I talked with General Flynn, Sidney Powell, and numerous people connected to the media. Okay, I am not an unknown entity. The reason I broke from them, here's why I broke from that, was I showed that the 2020 election was lost in Republican districts where the voting machines were compromised, where Trump got 98% of the vote in a fracking town in Pennsylvania that's only income comes from fracking, and Joe Biden got 30% of the vote when he ran. That doesn't make fucking sense. You go to Texas, 99.5% of the vote went for Trump in 2016. You mean to tell me 22% of those people decided to vote for Biden, who was going to shut down the oil and the pipelines? It doesn't make sense. I pointed that out to Republicans and said, you motherfuckers are in on it with the Democrats. And they all blocked me. And guess what happened? A year later, the world's most prominent fucking mathematician on his own, completely separate from me, ran the math and said the only way that Trump could have lost the election is if there was cheating in the Republican districts. Boom.
Do you know what the math?
Don't want nothing to do with me anymore.
Do you know what math he used?
He did an analysis of elections going all the way back to World War II.
Do you know what kind of the actual math he used?
I really don't. But you don't imagine how many people started messaging me, come back into politics, you're proven right. I was like, no, the struggle is real, but it ain't my struggle. The problem
You know
is
what?
that there isn't an honest politician, right?
I'll
We, the
just
people,
say,
think there are.
I'll just say this: one last thing about the differences we have, and then I'll just leave it alone. But one of the most important branches in mathematics for solving those kind of problems is uses the Bayes theorem or Bayes.
I don't remember what he used because I didn't care at that point, and I didn't care
Yeah,
that he
but
proved me right.
well,
You know.
I'm just saying that it's out there. You can look it up on YouTube. That's all I did. I'm not a master of the thing.
Now,
I just
let me finish the point that I was making.
Okay, go ahead.
Only reason I stayed off the internet for 2 years, literally. I mean, there's many things I could do rather than be here. I've got a great life and I have the means, right? And I exercise that and enjoy that. I came back on the internet because this fucking PCA. Somehow I came in contact with this PCA and I read it and I said to myself, there's nothing in that document that makes him the likely culprit of the crime. As a matter of fact, the document in and of itself is exculpatory. And I'm right. I was right before anybody ever knew me in here. That's what dragged me into, I dragged myself into true crime because there's no way an officer telling any fucking judge, that it's my experience criminals turn their phone off prior to committing a crime to mask their location. There's no way that should have been accepted when the accused was never a criminal and there's no history of crime. You can say that about fucking me, but not Brian Kohlberger. There is no criminal history connected to him of any sort, of any kind. And if people want to go into if they want to go into his teenage records, which are supposed to be sealed, right? A youthful offender record where he stole his sister's cell phone has nothing to do with the allegation made on this crime. Therefore, that does not belong in a probable cause affidavit. That's what brought me into this.
Oh, that's in there? I didn't know it was in there.
Sure it is. That statement was made by a police officer.
That's crazy.
Look, I don't give a fuck how much experience you got. I got a lot of experience in my trade too, but even old dogs need to be able to learn new tricks. But that statement in and of itself is why I was like, where does this even come close to probable cause? Because it doesn't. And that's why I got involved in this. And again, where's the problem in the warrant? It isn't the warrant. It's the judge and the police that worked with it. That's the problem. Those people are a problem. Them arresting Brian is a problem. Here these guys get up on the stand and say, oh, we surreptitiously collected a cigarette butt from a known suspect. We did this. We interviewed this. You didn't do any of that with Brian. Why the fuck didn't you swab his apartment fucking door surreptitiously? Why didn't you go talk to the people at work? Why didn't you bring him in for an interview? They didn't do any of that. That probable cause affidavit is the most insufficient fucking document that I've read in years. And now, what is the prosecution saying? It's not relevant. We're not using it. Why? Because it's a fucking junk document. I'm just trying to share with you that's what got me involved in true crime. And like politics, the problem with our true crime isn't who did it. It's not just finding who did it, but it's getting who did it held responsible. And why isn't that happening? Because the people we've entrusted to do the job are about as fucking smart as a rock. That's what needs to be fixed.
Well, can we start a what are those activist organizations called that end up where you have a lobbyist who lobbies people, or at least
you don't even necessarily need that. What you need is a whole bunch of people on true crime to come around this and agree. The problem is the system that needs to be fixed first. Along the way, you can examine and look at these but when you're examining these crimes, you need to be examining the officials that we entrust to do the job. Look at the Gilgo case in New York. 10 years of internal police corruption prevented solving that crime. The minute they focused on that crime, they solved it in weeks. But they never invested the time, nor the material, or the money to investigate the crime properly because they were all a bunch of corrupt, money-grubbing fucks. In 10 years, he went on and people were killed because of that, right? I don't care if they're prostitutes or they're homeless or they're fucking black or green. People lost their lives because of an inept, unfucking qualified, corrupt police department. That's what we need to fix. Not figure out who killed these. God forbid these kids are gone.
Is it true?
Figure it out, not me.
Yeah. So in your the way you have this structured, this is a question. are you pursuing it like the overall corruption that we're going after is looking at it like a RICO case where you need the individual crimes along the way too? Like you would need a lot of evidence about the Idaho 4, and you would need Alpha, like Delphi. You would need those are the individual
The
crimes.
Karen Reed case. The Karen Reed
The
case
Karen
is
Reed, the
another one.
great one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if we
And
had all
see-
that, aren't those the crimes that you would use to prosecute
Yes.
the RICO case?
Yes, but listen.
Okay, but they
Those
have some
crimes-
value then.
They have value, but not in solving the crime. They have value in
Okay.
showing the ineptitude of the actions of the officers
Okay.
resulted in
Oh,
a
that's-
discharge or an inappropriately charged person. Or even,
Yeah.
here's another one. Even
That's
if
well
she
stated.
did it, let's say she did it, right? Yesterday or the other day, there was a cop that that was in charge of supervising the removal of the Lexus from her home to the Sally Port. And not only did he testify that there was damage to the taillight that did not get represented, in other words, little or no damage. And then there's a video that shows the taillight, little or no damage. And then the evidence that the police showed the fucking jury and the court is a taillight that's completely smashed out. They show hundreds of little pieces of taillight they claim they found in the snow. Well, in other words, that's blatant corruption, right? They blatantly planted evidence in this case, but that's an example of the value of the case is the case needs to be made against these officials, not the guy that did it. That's
I
their
agree.
fucking job, man.
I
Right?
agree with that 100%.
Yeah,
It's,
and this is
it's
why
the,
I scream.
It's a give them a fish, they'll eat for a day, teach them how to fish. It's the same thing. They'll eat forever.
And
If
in this
you solve
situation-
this crime, if you solve one crime for them, great, that's one crime. But if you
Look at
solve the corruption, then you solve all the future
all crime.
bad cases.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly, that analogy fits perfect in that kind. Even Daniel from Drunk Turkey could be useful for this, but he's so fucking wrapped up in being the jerk
No.
off that he is.
You can't use them for anything.
No,
No,
you're
that-
wrong. All of us have an
No.
intricate value. No,
You can
you're
never
wrong.
trust someone that he's so far gone. I would never trust him.
You're mistaken. People can change, bro. If that's the case, then
Yeah,
everybody
he's-
leave because I
he's
was a
too far
big
gone.
crack addict. Don't trust me. I
No.
broke into houses. I broke into an apartment and stole firearms. Never was fucking charged for it. I've committed so many fucking crimes in my youth that it's staggering, right? But you can't really, if now you know that. But show me in any of our conversation where any of that has anything to do with who I am now.
No, I know lots of people. I know lots of people like you.
Can change.
I do. Yeah, it's true, but not Turkey.
Yes, he can. Yes, he can.
Okay, he can. Jeez.
Come on
trying- He reminds me of that.
we all can change for the better or
Yeah.
for the worse. I could
All right,
all of a sudden monetize this station and start doing everything else the other guys with big numbers are doing. I could do that, and you guys don't know what I'm going to do.
Oh, you would be great at that. If you did like Drunk Turkey's doing, yeah, you could
Yeah, I
you could do it. You could make a lot of money if you did that, probably.
Yeah, but I don't need the money. That's the best part. about
Exactly.
this.
So
I don't need stuff.
why ruin your own mind?
Well, no,
But
I'm
anyway.
comfortable being who I am, right? So,
Exactly.
but I do look at. That's why I say I put people over pets. I see humanity as a value. The value in each of us is uncalculable, and the capacity for us to do the right thing is uncalculable. The issue is that there's really no one out there trying to insist that it's not just easy, but it's more rewarding than trying to figure out what happened at the fucking grub truck. Bill Thompson shouldn't be a fucking prosecutor. Officer Payne shouldn't have let an invest. Officer Payne should be fucking not even collecting people from a fucking dog truck. That fucking guy should be a security guard for a photo booth that nobody visits, for fuck's sakes, that don't exist anymore. Okay?
Yeah. He can
Now,
look
can he
after all the
be
phone
fixed?
booths.
Can he change? Can he change? Can he be fixed? Possibly. Yeah. But
Well, there's
those
a
are the
difference
people I have an
between-
issue with.
There's a difference between somebody changing or getting utility out of them. You know,
Well,
like Drunk Turkey, you could put him in front of a punch press and he could operate that and be, we'll get some utility out of him. But can he become a person who's going to enlighten us about, this this big task.
Sure, I've turned my life around. You wouldn't want to take
Yeah,
any
but that's
advice from
you.
me.
That's you. That's rare.
No, it's not rare. It's rare because people don't try it. It's rare because we don't hold ourselves to each other to standards that are like I'm telling you. There's nobody that I associate with that doesn't fit within the standards of decency. Or I just won't. I don't give a fuck how pretty you are, how smart you are, how rich you are. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Go do it. Get away from me. And I'm telling you, we don't hold each other to a level of accountability, and it doesn't have to be confrontational.
Oh no, we don't.
I'm just very passionate about all of this, and that's why I come off so intense. It's not anger, it's not a feeling an emotional hate, it's passion. And I'm glad, like our conversation went real well. You do fully understand my point. I'm convinced of that.
It took me a while.
You might see the difficulty. You might see some futility in doing what I'm saying, but you do see value in it as much as you see anything else.
Well, I didn't understand it at the beginning of the conversation. I really didn't understand. I actually got it. Like 2/3 of the way through, I realized that you're actually doing something that's different from what a lot of the other people were doing.
And everybody, nobody's incapable of doing this, but I think we all as a group need to realize our problems aren't the criminals. In as much as they're the people that are supposed to keep us safe. They're supposed to put the right man behind bars. They're supposed to get the right criminal woman. These are things that they're entrusted to do. I don't want you kicking down my door looking for illegal immigrants, even though I want illegal immigrants removed. But you have no business kicking in my fucking door for it. You better come with some fucking proof, bro. Or right, this happened to me. And crimes I actually committed, I sued and was given rewards by the state. They had to pay me. Okay, there's a system in place, and we just can't have guys like Officer Payne.
Well, what's the first step towards prosecuting this RICO case against corruption? All the corruption. Would you say?
I don't know that I don't know about bringing a case of corruption through.
No, I don't mean literal. I don't mean literal RICO, but I'm just saying that's against. To fight your fight. What would we have to do?
More of us start paying attention to more of us. Look, when Officer Payne is on a witness stand and he says that none of the images or video can identify Brian Koberger or his car, then we need to attack by sending letters, by sending emails, making phone calls, not attack in a vicious way, but attack that is a fucking problem. How dare somebody that alleged this man killed 4 people make that statement when his statement is that, in fact, these videos do show that. Yet when asked directly if they prove that, and he tells you no, then this kid needs to be released.
Look,
whether he did it or not isn't relevant.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be a little bit vicious, though. I mean, the world's a very hard place right now.
All coalesce and put billboards up. Officer Payne testified none of his video images can confirm Brian Koberger and or his car. I mean, there's things that we could do as Americans that you can't do anywhere else on earth. That's the other amazing thing. You guys don't even understand the power you have.
No, people don't.
We have. Trump is trying to show us that. You see what Trump did with the tariffs?
Yeah.
Trump is trying to remind Americans. Let me just say, there's a value. A lot of people think, oh, you're consumers, you're this, you're that. Well, listen, folks, we're the driver of all innovation in the world. People are alive today that could not be alive if not for our type of lifestyle. And it isn't that we're responsible to bring them to our level, but getting them food and water is important, okay? For many people around the world, they wouldn't be alive if not for our lifestyle, our consumerism, okay? Our craving for luxuries, our craving for conveniences. I know people can say that that's meaningless existence, but it's not. It's exactly that to which the other 8 fucking billion people. We're 4% of the population, folks, of the world. We're fucking nothing. Yet we're the most important 4%. The most important. And we don't see that in ourselves for some reason. We've been convinced, well, Christmas, I don't celebrate it. It's been commercialized. Yeah, it has. And that commercialization has provided jobs for somebody in fucking Cambodia. Enjoy, smile, be American. Hug it, love it, sleep with it. You have no idea just how important your existence is as being 4% of the world's population. Trump is showing you that without telling you that by telling China, go fuck yourself. You can't bring anything here unless you pay me 130% tariff. I think the leader in China may have been assassinated or died or he's hidden in some bunker. You have no idea how important we are as Americans. And the other thing is, our importance is so fucking strong that guys like Officer Payne can be eliminated from the police force by public alcohol, or be demanded to go to a training course to correct his inadequacies, which is more fair than get rid of them, right? In other words, let's not be evil to each other. Let's be fair.
No, I think when people rise to this level of their own evil, then I think they got to go.
Is he evil or just carrying out his training?
No, he's evil.
I don't.
It's evil. It's evil if he did the things we think he did.
Bill Thompson is evil because Bill Thompson knows the truth.
He is, but the only way you know this, you never joined a gang, did you?
No.
Okay, because then you got to do whatever they do, and that's what Payne did.
That's
he
where
joined a
Officer
gang.
Payne is. Well,
yeah,
he didn't know that. He didn't listen. I would.
He knew he was in the 82nd Airborne for 8 years, wasn't he? That guy knows a lot more than I do.
I'm not saying he doesn't, but I'm telling you, his training and way. That's why the Black Lives Matter is right when they say that the corruption is systemic, and it's not about protecting other criminals or being a criminal. It's that the way your job is trained to you is training you in behaviors and attitudes and perspectives that's corrupt.
Would you have made that PCA? If you were in his shoes, would you have made that PCA and presented it?
Yeah, because as he says, it confirms what you just said. He says, I took an assemblage from all different people, all different areas of the investigation and put it together as it was given to me. Yeah.
But he could look at it and see that it didn't make any sense, couldn't he?
You're absolutely fucking right. But he didn't because he's not trained to. You understand? See, we agree. Is his behavior evil or is it systemic corruption because he was trained to do this?
Well, in my opinion, you have to get rid of them too, because there is as much of the problem. Some followers are not followers because they don't know what's going on. Some followers are followers because they want to be players. They want to be players in that game.
Look that's Daniel the drunk turkey. That's
exactly
right there.
He wants to be a player. He thinks he is a player.
He thinks he is, and he may be in a small little world that he lives in.
In his mind, he is. Yeah, he's the only one. He put me in timeout for a while. I only ever asked him one question. He put me in timeout. I think I asked him why wasn't there any evidence against Brian Koberger.
But you don't know right from wrong when you're in the middle of an investigation and you're getting affirmations that this data is valuable. This data shows this. When you're stuck in that situation, folks, you look at, and I think that part of fixing the problem in our judicial system is also having the capacity to forgive and forget and give someone a chance. I mean, America's all about second chance. How the fuck am I here if America didn't give me a second and third fucking chance? I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You guys don't even realize that you gave me a second and third chance.
They did. They really didn't. You kind of outsmarted them more than them giving you anything.
No, absolutely not. I learned so much from the people that I ended up coming in contact with because of my stupid, ignorant, fucking bad choices. And those people made the difference.
They do know what's going on, don't they?
Yeah. And so my point is that I don't want to condemn now somebody that knows and is orchestrating it like Bill Thompson needs to be fucking gone.
Okay, but if it's 2.5 years later and you're still going along with the obvious program, you're definitely, that's not a person who can be trusted in society.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, you know how many years I was a fucking criminal from the time I was 14 to the time I was 26. So, I snapped right out of it and went a different direction, and so can Brett Payne. I don't think Bill Thompson can, and I think Bill Thompson needs to be held to account.
Yes.
And I think training officers, listen, if you're going to be a policeman or your child's going to be a policeman and he's in a vehicle going 55 and a 30, he needs to call his training man out and ask him to return to the posted speed limit. This is where it starts.
Yeah.
You see? And we as Americans need the whole, like numerous times I've gotten a pulled over next to a policeman. Okay. And got his badge time of day, car number, and turned him into his barracks for speeding. It shouldn't be acceptable to us. It just shouldn't be. And yet, as a group, we don't even realize the power we have if we were to insist that from the people that uphold our laws. Simply follow the speed limit. I don't want my young boy seeing you going 60 in a 40, right? Running a red light without your lights on, without your siren going. I don't want to see that. It says no right on red. You make a right on red. And then you pull into a fucking restaurant. You should be ticketed, sir. See, I know it's a lot of work, folks, but to be American, there is an effort. And sitting out here trying to figure out who did it is a lot of wasted effort. Billions of fucking man hours have been devoted to figuring out who did this. Meanwhile, Bill is living his life of luxury. Bill don't give a fuck what happens here. Whether he wins this case or not will not affect Bill, but it certainly will affect the deceased. Yeah, it's a big task, Delby. But I think all big tasks start with the voice of one. Or they wouldn't start.
The only thing I'm saying, and maybe I am wrong, I really don't know. The only thing I'm really saying is that the vow, your points, they don't automatically invalidate the work that some of the better YouTubers are doing. It
doesn't invalidate it, but it does give a rise to the question of, is that focus useful and productive to any long-term issue? And it isn't.
Not on its own. Maybe that's the difference we're not looking at. On its own, no, it's not. It's useless. You're right. You're right. On its own, it's useless. But used in conjunction with, like you're going to have to find a way. If you want Americans, especially Americans, if you want them basically get off their ass and go after corruption,
but they're doing it already.
You're going to have to show them something.
No, they're doing it already, Delby. With all the streamers that you're referring to, that's proof that they're already putting in the time and effort. This is what I'm saying. I mean, come on. If we all are running to the edge of a cliff, are you going to just run with the group? And that's really what's happening here. Is that it's a simple shift in perspective, and the effort and time that you need to invest is exactly the same. And
well, I'm saying now, you remember factories when we had factories. You got all these different jobs in a factory, and it's the same thing with going after corruption. There's all different things you need. You have to have people bringing you information to show you, first of all, what's going on in Delphi and what's going on with Karen Reed and things like that. Especially with
those skills are absolutely important. I'm not. That's why I say everybody could be a part of this. That's why you're just confirming what I'm. But yeah, I don't see any disvalue in people reviewing video.
Yeah, I'm saying that they could be.
Have an issue with them interpreting it in a way that's just outrageous, like Ethan had his face urinated on. I'm sorry, that's what I mean. The insanity just continues to snowball, and meanwhile, Bill Thompson's enjoying life.
So don't use that part, and instead of using that part, get the parts that are useful.
Well, tell that guy to go sit down and fucking knit. Okay?
I just became a mod on his channel. You're talking to a made member of the Tommy Jude crime family.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but he serves a lot of good purposes with that channel. Like we wouldn't be having this conversation if he hadn't have brought me on to a couple of shows, to talk and get used to talking. So it's a community.
I'm not saying he's valueless. I'm not saying that at all.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that he's taken it to a level that's filth.
Once in a while, it's not everything.
It's not, but look at once in a while is too much, because that means they're going to do it again when the time arises. And I just
they will. They will.
So they need to stay the fuck away from me.
No.
And when presented with that person, my feeling is that person provides no value to anybody except themselves, and even they're actually a harm to themselves doing the kind of thinking and bullshit that they're doing. And there's just no room for it in my life. I'm done.
Okay.
I would literally rather go outside and watch the grass grow than engage with something like that.
I believe it. Although I can't see you doing that.
Oh yeah. I read a book and look over at the lawn and read a little more in the book. Sip my root beer and
You gonna read that new James Patterson book?
No. I pay a lot of attention to science and physics and astrology.
Yeah.
And
Oh, can I offer you something to look into? This I'm finding to be very interesting. It's this Bayes theorem, okay? Because it looks at probability, but it applies to things like crime and corruption.
hang on a second. Hang on a second. I take things too far because why? Interesting and entertaining. If that's what you call interesting and entertaining, get the fuck out of my stream. I don't need you here. Don't need you. Don't want you. If you think I'm going too far, when some fucking filthy story that he produced and put out about Ethan and the other victims has been propagated all over the fucking internet, that's not going too far. That's entertaining.
He was dramatizing. He was dramatizing. Look at movies that we watch.
My ass. I got the clip. He looked like a crackhead fucking in the head of a cult. You want to see the clip when he put that forward?
I used to have it. I deleted it though. I had it before, so I've seen it.
Yeah, it didn't.
I mean, I saw it live. I saw it. Yeah.
I go. If you need entertainment, then go to a fucking circus. There's a million things on the internet.
Crime
go watch some of
circus.
these videos of women trying to impress men. Go watch men trying to impress women. Go watch something entertaining. Go watch a comedian. Go watch a show. Tommy Jude is not even entertainment. He's just holy fuck. As he know, he's just useless. I find no value in people that are willing to go that far.
He's been very helpful for me though. He's helped me a lot.
How did he help you?
By getting me, I started going on his panels and talking, and then when you started having the phone line, because I had done it a little bit with them, and then I called you a couple times, and and look at the progress. I think we both have learned a little bit. I know I've learned a few
I haven't
things.
changed at all. The only thing I've learned is that you can be gotten to, but it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah, well, you learned that.
Right? I mean, and there's nothing in my opinion, my approach, or my presentation that's might change. The view that I've shared about where our real issue is never changed. It's been the same since I've gotten around here. And that's why I walked away from politics. I could have had 150 million followers. I would have walked away. Because the thing is that we can all fix these problems together. And then there's people that are just so far out of understanding. They have really no motive other than to come out here and be heard, or to come out here and make money. And like Daniel, they'll say and do anything for that goal. And they're not helpful to anybody's cause but their own. They're selfish fucking people. And they're just, you got to pick and choose your battles, and you got to pick and choose your friend. You're judged by the people you associate with. That's real. Right? If I'm hanging out with people that are in the mafia, you're going to naturally assume I'm connected to the mafia.
Well, you will be you won't be hanging out with them unless you're connected to them. Believe me.
Well, no, but see now, same thing. If you're hanging out with fucking pedophiles, then what are they going to? If you're hanging out in a horror house, so that's what I'm saying. I'm old enough to know better.
Yeah.
Fox Robert will talk with you. And I'm trying, and so I guess some of what I'm trying to do is share my life experiences and the changes in the way that I view things. Really, it would be nice if somebody said that your view is insane, that there's that what they're doing is all perfectly correct and normal, and your interpretation of it is just crazy. If somebody can make that statement and show me that to be true, then I'll accept that. My interpretation of what's been done in the Idaho 4 is because I'm crazy and I'm not looking at it right, and I should be watching a Banfield video. Make that argument and show the proof, and I'll accept my fucking failings, my shortcomings. And
all
I've never
right,
seen
I'll work on it.
No one's attempted to do that, because it's like, why?
I'm trying to do it, but it takes a long time because it's not been. No one has figured out how to do it yet, and I'm trying to do that, and it's difficult.
It's not. Yeah, I know it's difficult. It's hard because it's difficult when you're trying to overcome a point that really is getting ignored, but it's probably a point that would do more for us and be more valid than a lot of the fool's errands that we associate ourselves with.
Yeah.
Look at here's another example. I got neighbors, both sides of me, their dogs fucking bark, and I'm not happy about it at all. But I'm not going to engage in discussions with these fucking idiots to think that they're going to change the behavior of their dogs. They're not. And so what the fuck would I associate? Where's the common ground of association or mingling with? There is none. There's really, and the bottom line is that when I've had pets, including dogs, they're not on my property to disturb your life at all. If my dog began to do that, or did begin, in other words, I had a dog, it's ended. It's trained out of the dog. Okay, it's just my life should not impugn or infringe upon yours. Your good senses, your beliefs, your philosophies, your way. I should have no influence or no interference with that whatsoever. And I hang around people that are the same way. I mean, there's a lot of people out there like that. And it's sad that it seems the internet, for whatever reason, I know that people consider this entertainment, but man, I often wonder how entertaining is what is a quadruple homicide of young adults. That I don't find any entertainment value in this at all. And the idea that who's being accused, who may in fact be the perpetrator, I find it completely unentertaining in the process that they're accusing him. There's no entertainment value for me in any of this. Anyways, hang on 1 second. Entertain the room.
Oh, I entertain the room. I didn't understand what he said. Is there anybody left out there? I can't see the chat, so I don't know what everybody's talking about or if anybody's even left. I'm going to be watching Tommy Jude tonight.
My foreman just rang me, and they're coming over to finish my pool.
Oh, that's okay. I use the time to promote Tommy's channel.
There are, yeah. Don't promote him on my stream down here.
I'm just
I
kidding.
literally will. You're
I'm
right.
just kidding.
There are. Listen, I've named some of the creators. There's a lot of creators that I follow. I do kind of like To The Point. I like that kid. He doesn't really ever have lives or panels, but I do like his attitude, his presentation, and he's got opinion, and he's very, very Southern gentleman completely. Love the guy. I sometimes listen to Unfiltered Lucky, although not often. He drives me nuts with he's looking up in the air all the time like he's thinking. It's like, for fuck's sakes, dude.
Oh, he says the same thing over and over.
So, and then I jump in and out of Harsh. Oh, I love this one. Lana, I jump in and out of Lana's. Miss Potts, Dago, and then Mama Bear, and I mean, there's a dozen or more of these creators that I may have a different opinion or a different point of view, but
Who's that last one you said?
What, Mama Bear?
Mama Bear?
Yeah, that was Dago's co-host. Yeah. So there's a lot of creators that I jump in and listen to, and I like The Purge. Him and I have gone back and forth. Rolo, him and I have gone back and forth. I don't have an objection coming here. You and I have gone back and forth. You're a supporter of Tommy. I'm completely the opposite.
Who's The Purge?
Kane B, The Purge, isn't it?
Oh, Kane. Yeah, that's it.
I try to avoid
Kane,
the
Kane B.
that are presenting information that solves the crime. Or presenting information that lets you think this other person over there is involved, or this is. I just avoid that because to me, I find no value in it, and then nothing's going to change my mind on that. I just don't find any value in that. Lana gives me value. Lana has shown things and brought things to people's attention through documentation, and it's valuable. Now, for a while, I was picking on her because she had that beep. I'm not coming back until that fucking noise is gone. I can't take it anymore.
You know what? I could never hear it.
Oh.
Everybody was talking about it, and I'm like, what beep? I never did hear it. Must be out of my range.
Listen, nothing half-assed. I don't know that you have a channel. Give it, put it in the room. I listen to Heather Fitzgerald. I listen to her channel. Although, and I call her Biff because she's changed her name, so she might as well call herself fucking Biff. But in her channel, which is informative, the potatoes running around and the continual repeating of statements over and over and replaying of Van Taylor once and twice is fine, Heather. But the fucking the tenacity of continuing to replay them fucking scenes over, man. If I could reach through the computer and give you a flick on the chin, I would.
Oh, if I could help you do that, I would help you.
You know, but no,
she has good information, but I'm just not. Yeah, one of my weaknesses is that I'm my brain just has a low tolerance for trickery or, stuff like repeating things over or, potatoes running around. It just doesn't work for me. It gets me agitated.
How about the guy burning the bridge and the town burns down? It's
Oh
like,
yeah,
what, man?
Doug. Are you talking about Doug Williams or something else?
No, Heather does that. There's some old guy talking about a
No,
bridge
that's Doug Williams. That's the leader of Christ Church. He's important in Moscow.
Oh, that's him. That's him doing that.
Yeah,
I
his
didn't even
church.
know who the guy was.
His church. He's the guy whose church Rosendahl grew up in. It's a cult.
No shit.
Yeah. Oh no, he's very important with his No Quarter November. That's what his fire and everything's about. They have every year what he calls No Quarter November, and if you're a person who's doing anything wrong, he feels like he can get rid of you.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I see him with that, and I'm like, okay.
but that's
She's
what I'm
playing it
saying.
on the stream, and I kind of zoomed through that.
Yeah, she's one of the ones I've gotten a lot of good information from her. Almost all of
Listen,
them,
but
really.
look at her statement. Why the fuck you think we keep showing? Listen, we're idiots because you're not actually on the stream explaining it. I got to add 1 and 1 plus 8 and 8 plus 5 and 5 to come to a fucking, and I don't have. It's aggravating. Just put it out there the way it needs to be. This asshole burning the bridge, blah 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 blah, and then I like, oh, that's why it's here. Good.
It probably needs it probably does need a little bit of exposition with it. Some commentary for people who don't know that.
I'm like, not my fault you can't math. Listen, not my fault. Well, let me just say men and women math uniquely different, right? Like let me just tell you, I was extremely fucking happy when Trump said men can't play in women's sports because now, without a fucking doubt, I'll never have to do dishes again. Come on, Delby. You caught that, right? You got that one.
Yeah, I got it. I didn't want to laugh. I didn't want to laugh. A lot of people don't like me already. I'm trying to keep the ones I got.
I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying?
I gotta have
freedom.
I want to have a few friends left on the internet.
Oh man. Well, I've got, what do we got here? We don't have a whole bunch of viewers, 122 of them, 82 over there on YouTube. This isn't even a stream you guys need to hit like about, but I thought the whole point of the presentation today was to show, and I could be mistaken, but I thought I heard Daniel say that the state is bringing people in from Pennsylvania. I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but in fact, the subpoenas for Pennsylvania are coming from the defense, as I stated last night, without even knowing all the facts. And it wasn't until I saw the Indie Zone that she confirmed my assessment last night that if there's people being subpoenaed from Pennsylvania, it's for the defense, not the prosecution. And,
yeah,
in fact, that's the truth. So, but I think that dickhead Daniel was trying to suggest that they were for the prosecution, more the circumstantial case. But no matter what people negatively have to say about Brian in Pennsylvania, in order to present it in a court of law, it has to have relevance to the case. You just can't impugn someone's character for the fun of it and bring in people to say Brian's an asshole. He picked his nose all the time.
Did you see the video, the new one today or yesterday from Veritas Equitas?
No.
Because I think she's, maybe I'm wrong, maybe someone else. Her and Translucent put some out. One of them is about how the media has been convicting Brian Koberg from the beginning, and it shows a clip of Drunk Turkey interviewing Steve G, and there's a bunch of cuts, but it's really good. It highlights a lot of the stuff I didn't know. I didn't know that they had gone that far on some of the stuff. But
Steve G, everything Steve G has told the public has either been an intentional lie.
It wasn't Translucent. Translucent did one on Brian Koberger filing civil suits. 16 civil suits he filed.
See, my third world tech support doesn't really help me assemble videos and put clips together, unfortunately. But they are responsible for a portable fucking table that everybody in the world can enjoy. And when you're eating your lunch or you're taking a break at work, they've created a portable table. And what it is it's a toilet seat And if you take the ring of the seat and hang it over your neck and let the lid open, the lid becomes the table. So they are, as far as third worlders go, very creative. So I'm proud of them for that. They turned the toilet seat into a common, table that you can set your beer on or your hamburger or whatever you like and continue on about your day. So they are an impressive group of third worlders.
Yeah, they are.
Oh my God! Let me see. I might even.
Hey, why don't I get off here and let somebody else get? I've been on here kind of a while. It's probably why you don't have any viewers.
No, I don't. If people don't like it, they don't like it, bro. You got to fix something. But I'm
No,
not.
no.
Listen, I'm not here to be liked, and I'm known. I'm well more known than I am appreciated. I guarantee it. But in my way of living life, hate is so close to the effects and effort of love that to hate me is to love me, whether people want to accept that or not. But that is true. If you hate me,
Well, that's true for everything, though. Apathy
you're
is
literally loving me.
farther away. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's,
High. They both have high emotions. I don't know.
and as far as like a reasoning and sensible conclusions, I think even with you on here, I've swayed you further off of where you were from when you came in. Not because I'm like I don't know, I don't have that wonderful presentation, but because facts and truth speak for themselves.
Yeah. No, I think I definitely have a better understanding of your point of your perspective or your
Yeah.
your position. I didn't have before. I mean, it makes a big difference. It's kind of hard. You talk about so many different things at the same time that it's hard to pick out the overall,
No, that's true. I do
structure.
wander around. I wander around. I go into all kinds of different topics and things in life, not in life, things in science, not in science. And I just, I have
Yeah.
a capacity to think. And I that to me is the most wonderful thing that we were given.
Oh, it
Creatures
is.
of
Yeah.
this particular planet. We can think, and it's sad. And I'm very observant. And what most people think is thinking isn't. It's believing. And if you look up the definition of believing is to the exclusion of all else. And that's the problem with belief. That's a unique power. It's a godlike power that we all possess. And they've manipulated us to misuse that power of belief. That's why I'm so much talking always about learning how to think or thinking, because to believe something isn't a fool's errand. If you want to believe in something, believe in the promises of humanity and life, believe in a creator or not believe in a creator. Believe in things that really matter. Don't believe in information that's been printed or broadcast by man. Everything in man's world needs to be thought about and discussed and understood. But you need no understanding to believe in a power greater than yourself. Just look up in the night sky. There's something significant going on around us, and we have no idea what it is, but you can believe that it's there because you can see it. So you don't even have to believe in God. And so again, this belief is a very specific power unique to us. A deer doesn't believe it's in danger. It knows from repetitive experiences that it's always in danger. And its response to danger isn't based on belief, it's based on experience. Okay? And that's what makes us unique from any other creature on this earth, the capacity to believe. We believe we could fly, and look what the fuck we're doing. Deers, dogs, apes, ants, fish, that capacity is non-existent. So as humans, when we deal with data from other humans, that's when you engage your thinking process, which is a bunch of questions and answers. So people that are religious, for example, don't question the existence of God. They don't need proof. He doesn't need to come down and tap them on their shoulder. They believe he's there to the exclusion of all else. And that's powerful. And humanity has been tricked, especially in America, to use the power to believe. You believe Trump is this, you believe Trump is that, you believe this, and you believe. That's a misuse of a power that's unique to us as humans. And that's what I point out a lot on this stream. We are way more than we could ever imagine. We're way more capable, and we're way more good than we are bad. And it just takes us recognition and action upon that, which you couldn't communicate that to a deer, to an ant, to a bird. You go nowhere with that. And yet so that's kind of what I like to get people to realize. I'm not a hater of people. Yeah, Tommy Jude can change too. I'm saying all of these people, even these people I vehemently oppose for their actions and their statements and the way they put things forward. I vehemently oppose them and I'm just passionately objected. I'm so like offended by people that do what Daniel's doing. He could make more money doing it in a more honest, reasonable manner. Even if he believes the guy's guilty, he still has to show the argument that there's a latitude of innocence here. And you don't see a lot of these people, the guilters of the innocent guys won't do it either. And I don't believe he's innocent or guilty. I have no fucking clue. I could make arguments all day long to show you Brian likely did this crime just as strongly as I could do it the other way. But to me, those are what the fuck? You go nowhere with that. And where can we go somewhere?
Yeah, I really can't. I mean, if I tried, I wouldn't be able to show that Brian did anything to do with it.
You know how Brian did it?
Um,
Brian changed cars and let that guy take his phone with him while Brian drove to the crime scene. What do you mean? That's exactly what I said a year ago, 2 years ago. All Brian had to do was change cars from the 14 to 15.
I remember I was listening when you had that
Look,
idea.
Brian could have parked his car and got a ride from someone else in the symbol. And that would be, you guys want a perfect crime, that would be it. Brian jumped into an 11 to 13. He was either a passenger or their driver while his car continued on.
Do you remember who started talking about that night?
No, I think I was in Dago Stream or somebody where I pointed that out. That, look, there's a million ways to argue this kid did it and a million ways to argue that he didn't do it. But the bottom line is, what about the way that is being argued? Why aren't we focusing solely on that? There's a million ways to show he didn't do it, someone else did it. Okay. But where's in other words, you're running down a road that there's no end to. And there is an end to understanding and then taking action as a group. If 10,000 people realized, wait a minute, what the fuck? The car they're tracking isn't Brian's, provably so. Why are they calling it Brian? And started sending letters to fucking that jerk off, the crack smoker. Started sending letters to the police. Started sending letters to Ann. Started sending letters to the judge. Emails. You type more in the chat room than you would have to type to fix the world.
That's funny.
Right?
Yeah. In a way.
Add up all the words and all these chats across all of these streams. We could have fixed this fucking problem.
Well, but that's the beginning, though. Unfortunately, that's the platform that you have to work with to get started. They're the ones who started it.
That's why, this I think is an easier message to communicate in true crime than it would be in politics. Because politics is so emotional and the belief system is it's way more powerful where they won't even they won't even try to understand what that means to believe. They just do it. And you see, in other words, it's kind of like me trying to go to a Muslim and convince them to convert to Judaism. Even if the guy allows the conversation to begin, right? And even if he participates in the conversation, he ain't ever going to do it because he believes in his Muslim faith. So you could talk yourself till your head explodes. He's not going to do anything about it. But here, I think people uniquely within true crime, they have the capacity and if given enough information, they'll make the change. I do got people coming over to finish my pool liner. So I probably should throw some clothes on because I'm sitting, and this is why I don't stream with a camera, folks. I'm streaming in my underwear. Okay. I'm just sitting here chilling, streaming in my underwear, having a cup of coffee, smoking a cigarette. And yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna get off of here. I got a couple things I gotta take care of.
Yeah.
So thanks for your enlightenment.
Yeah. Nothing personal. Boom. I booted his ass and he fell for it just like everybody else. Pow! And there you're gone. Sergeant Friday. He hits his target every time. The visuals on the sergeant. I'm just saying, I live a fucking charmed life. I really do. We all can live a charmed life. We really can. I was talking, and I'll end with this. I was talking to my uncle the other day. He started asking about my finances, and he's like, your career, you don't blah blah blah. There's no reason you need to retire. And I asked him a simple question. When is enough enough? When is enough enough, folks? How much money do you need? How many years must you work? Right? When is enough enough? And I've always had that in the back of my head. There's a point in time where enough is enough. Let's hope I don't miscalculate. But even if I do, you have to realize that that's a fair way to approach the world. There's got to be a point in time where there's enough. How much money do you need to live on when you have no bills, when everything you have is completely paid for in full outright? How much more money do you need? What do you need it for? What, to go buy a truck that you own, brand new fucking truck, to buy a house that you fully own, what, to go buy another house? What? When is enough enough? And it's a personal decision, but it's a question I think that we should all be taught this from when we're young. Some of us want to be billionaires, some of us, and that's fine. I absolutely encourage that. But for the majority of us, literally, how many years do you have to work before you can call enough enough? And so if you start out, regardless of what your goals are, if you start out with that kind of philosophy, then I think your life it'll coalesce into a much simpler, happier life. There is a point in time where enough is enough. How many thousands of dollars a month do you need to buy fucking food? That's what I'm left facing. I've got to buy food. I got to pay for healthcare. That's it. So what the fuck do I need? What, 10 million? How many millions do I need to do? And do I need a bigger, better lifestyle? Do I need a bigger home? No. That's my personal, for me. You may have a different personal what's enough. But trust me when I tell you, that is the question, especially in the society that we live in, this consumer, money generated society. I think that's a reasonable perspective that all of us should commonly hold on to. When is enough enough? Unfortunately, for many of us, enough is never enough. Things happen. Tragedy, illness, right? So I do understand that, sadly, for some of us, even being able to ask that question isn't reasonable. Because your kid got sick, right? Your kid's college expense, your job that was paying for the college you lost, you got a new job. I understand. Not all of us are able to do that. But I think if all of us try to approach life with that particular thought, when is enough going to be enough for me? And then you work towards that. Now you have a lifelong goal. You see? It's something we should share with our kids and maybe start spreading around amongst each other. When is enough enough? I don't want to be Donald Trump. I don't want to have that kind of money. I don't want the responsibility. You know how many fucking banks you got to deal with to have that kind of money? Just think about that. If a bank goes out of business, they only guarantee $250,000 of your money. That's all that's insured. Now do the math. Do the math. You're worth fucking 20 million fucking dollars. How many banks do you have your money in? Do you remember the names of these fucking banks? Is there a way to buy a special insurance policy to fucking protect your money if all of those banks went out of business all at the same time? I don't know. But I don't want to have to fucking learn that stuff. I have no interest in it. I don't need 20 fucking million dollars. Right? But just there's just things in life that as you progress through it, I think the best question we can all put in front of ourselves at a very early age is, when is enough going to be enough? Right? When is enough going to be enough? You teach that to your kids and think about that yourself. When is enough enough? Well, folks, as I always say, be good or be bad. If you're going to be bad, don't get caught. Everybody have a good day and a good night. I'm not sure when I'll be back again, but you'll know. You'll know when I'm back. Oh, and drunk turkey, drunk chicken, drunk head, drunk pigeon, drunk dickhead. Wise up.